some here?
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Cheers.
Yeah, bang.
Cheers.
Appreciate y'all having me.
We're happy to have
we
you.
appreciate
Coming to our house.
Coming. Yeah.
Our basement, our dwelling.
What's up, everybody? I'm Lisa,
I'm Brando.
I'm Big Mike.
and this is Brewheads.
You damn right.
And the Lord said,
Brewheads!
We are here today with the one, the only Jamal.
Yes.
For a second, I thought you forgot his name.
No,
Just dramatic pause.
dramatic pause because I wanted everyone to look at him, like zoom in on him, and just be like, "We know this guy. He's
Yep.
kind of a big deal in the state of Connecticut.
He does some things.
Appreciate you
As
saying
humble as you are,
Yep.
you're kind
Very
of a
humble.
big deal in the state of Connecticut.
Staying alive out here, you know?
Yeah.
Staying alive.
So, as you are in my phone as NEBCO Jamal, because I have a lot of Jamals in my phone and I need to separate them. Explain to the people what you do at NEBCO.
At NEBCO, I am the Director of Sales and Marketing, so I oversee all of our sales and all of our marketing. We've got a small team on both, but a great team. I love my team, and I oversee the events department, all of our in-house events and private events that we book, but we have Christina, our events coordinator, who does that. She does the bulk of it, but yeah, those are the three departments that I oversee and manage.
I'm going to say, just because he mentioned events, one of my favorite events is when
Yeah.
you have the Souls play.
Oh yeah, the Souls are dope. Yeah, we try to get them as much as we can. Really, they're performers. You know, sometimes there's bands that are great and all that, but these guys put on music, which is cool. And they also work for, two of them are the sons of a rigging company that has put in a bunch of our fermentation tanks.
Oh,
Really?
wow.
Sometimes
Okay.
we see them. The last two tanks we put in is when we discovered that they were a band. Their dad was like, "My son's playing this band and they're pretty good."
They seem like such chill dudes.
Yeah, they're good. They're good guys. They're chill. They put on a show. They're professional.
Yeah.
And, yeah, it's cool to have 'em.
Man, you guys are really at capacity at NEBCO.
Yeah, we'll do just under 21,000 barrels this year. Connecticut, which is
That's insane.
and that's in a perfect world. We've had some, there's always mechanical issue. There's something.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And it's
Right.
It's an older brew house, so we're always, band-aiding
Rigging something
things.
up.
Yeah. So we are in the need of a new location desperately. Not just from a capacity standpoint, but from all the aspects.
Right.
We're just ready for that as a brand.
Yeah.
The building itself is old, and our
Front
team is
parking
ready to
lot,
go.
back parking lot,
Yeah.
Parking.
Need you in the parking lot.
bathroom.
Yeah.
I've always said being next to a dealership has to be the hardest thing ever for parking.
Yeah, parking's not great, but the dealership is they're great neighbors. They're the real landlord of the property, but they're just big fans, so they move
that's
cars
good.
for us
Yeah.
when we have busy.
That's awesome.
When we know we have an event coming up,
Yeah,
they'll
yeah,
move
yeah.
cars for
That's
us.
good.
And
Wow.
work with us. Yeah, that's
So-
cool.
Crazy.
So I'm gonna tell you that wouldn't happen at my dealership.
I would never work at a dealer that would do that.
No. We barely have parking for
Well, I'm
our
sure
events.
there's some perks to it. I'm sure there's some perks to it for them.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Another caser here that gets.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, they can.
Don't-
Yeah.
They don't really. There's not a lot of those guys that I know of anyway that come over and hang out. They all seem like they. But we're gonna be doing some stuff. We're doing a dog days of summer event, which is like a pet adoption
Nice.
thing that we're.
I might have to go.
I just
I don't
said
want
I
one, I just
wanted
want-
us
Yeah,
to
you
do
would-
that.
yeah, you would just
I
say-
just said I wanted us to partner with a pet adoption agency and go to events at the breweries with them and just kind of bring in more people.
Yeah. So they're gonna bring. I can't remember the name of the agency that we're using, but they're gonna bring a bunch of puppies that are
Nice.
adoptable, and it's in collaboration with Bears. So they did one of the events at their location, at the New Haven location. Now we're doing the second one here. Jamie, who's one of the owners of Bears, is going to be the photographer taking a picture of people with their dogs. They're doing
Nice.
a backdrop, so you can make a donation and get a portrait with your pup.
Oh,
And then there'll be dogs for donation as well. I mean, not donation.
we do not donate
No,
dogs.
we do not donate
I'm not
dogs.
donating dogs. It's bad. But yeah,
Dog
so I'll
drop
be done
off.
for that.
Damn.
So, without going into detail, nothing you're uncomfortable with, but you wanted a new location. Like you mentioned that you're in need of a new location. There was in the news a possibility of a new location. Where does any of that stand?
We have something on the burner,
Okay.
and that's essentially the most I can say about it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Understood.
Yeah.
But yes, we hopefully it works
There are
out.
plans.
Yeah, we got plans. We've been working on something for a little while.
Good.
Very nice.
It would be
But
nice.
unfortunately, it won't be West Haven.
I feel like
Yeah.
West Haven kind of
They did that to
screwed the
themselves.
pooch there. To go back to the
Yeah.
dog reference. Well, actually, not West Haven.
Yeah.
And I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I will
Yeah, I
say
get that,
the
yeah.
community of West Haven definitely wanted us there.
Yeah.
And the city as a whole, officials and stuff wanted us there. There was specific individuals that
Correct.
just swing a hammer in West Haven.
Yep.
That put the kibosh on that. But unfortunately,
Politics, man.
Yeah.
that would have been a good place. But
I'm glad things are still.
It is
as
crazy
other things are
how-
in the works.
Politics.
yeah, one way or another, we need a space. Not
Right.
just for it may not be as West Haven would have been dope on the water and the whole nine.
Yes.
Of course, but most importantly is being able to make more beer and keep growing as a brand and give people a taproom experience that we really want. We're honored for the brand loyalty that we have, a customer base that's like
Yeah.
down to come to our little sleepy tap room in the back of a Lincoln dealership.
Yep.
Yeah.
But as a brand, we want to be able to give people a better experience than
Yep.
when they come to the mothership. So
I'll share a fun fuzzy duck story for you. When not young, but young beer Lisa was just starting out, Fuzzy Ducks was on my list of must-tries. And me and my best friend Chad drove all the way to I don't even know where, because they were having a Fuzzy Duck on tap party. And we drove like 45 minutes, not even thinking that we could just go to the brewery for it, but we went to this place to see a band. We're not that bright. What do you want from us?
She did say
you
young
probably
Lisa.
couldn't have got
Yeah.
at the brewery.
She did
Yeah.
say young Lisa.
Yeah, but we went to this event. It was because it was like a whole event. So we had the band, like it was the whole ambiance kind of thing. So it was great, and we were so excited to just get our hands on some Fuzzy Duck. Like,
Did you get any?
we did get
Okay.
some. We actually had several glasses. We made friends with the little musician person, and we gave them a little lesson in some music. The whole, Darius Rucker did not
Oh, is that how
wagon
that's
wheel. That's how that
that's that
whole
whole
thing
thing?
started.
Oh,
Darius
okay.
Rucker did not write wagon wheel. It was created before him. He just made it mainstream.
Made it pop.
Yeah,
He really did.
he did.
Because I'm not going to lie, I do like that version
A little bit better.
A little
a little
better.
bit better. Chad, if you're watching, I'm sorry, but it is better.
Well, he just didn't write it first. If he made it better, that's okay. He just didn't
Correct.
write it first.
Correct. So,
Remixes have been done,
Yes.
Yeah.
Sometimes the remix is better.
Yeah.
Sometimes not.
I like the Shinedown version of Simple Man more than I like
Actually,
Skinner's.
I am right there with you.
So,
Yes.
and this is...
Sound of Silence.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
that's another good one.
Yeah. Just no one ever try to remix a Prince song. Just stay
Yeah,
away.
please don't.
Just stay away.
That's all Mark's talking about. So I was telling you about the vineyard we went to that was serving us all these drinks. They make these drinks with brandy they make from their wine.
Okay.
So all of the liquor in these drinks is their own brandy. They had a Prince drink.
Oh, yeah.
What was it? Just Pink Prince Revolution?
I think so. Yeah, I think it's Prince Revolution.
And my husband wakes up this morning. He's like, that Prince drink was still really good. And I was like, at some point, I just think you're a Prince fan. It could have been a crap drink, and just because it had Prince's
Had
name
Prince,
attached
yep.
to it, you're still pushing for it.
Yeah, I don't know. If it's not good, you might be offended, depending on your level of Prince loyalty.
Oh, he's
He's definitely
lover.
loyal. Yeah, he's definitely loyal Prince.
he wants to be the lover. Really bad singing. Sorry, cut that.
Leave that.
No, definitely cut that.
No, that stays.
All right, well, Brenda, what do you have for this fine fella?
I think, obviously, my first love is Chains in the Air.
Appreciate that.
Obviously, it's coming again.
It is coming back.
Yeah, don't do that to me, man. 'Cause
Nah, it's coming back. It'll be this October.
Okay.
We're finalizing a date this week, actually, as a
Nice.
team. But the plan is most likely that it'll be downtown New Haven this year. Now that we got Cedar Park.
Oh,
Really?
Cedar Park
Makes
is
sense.
a phenomenal spot.
Yeah.
It's really nice.
Thanks, man.
Yeah,
Appreciate that.
I was really happy when I went down there. My wife and I went down there, and just like that is a vibe.
Nah, I appreciate that, man. I'd love to hear that. It's been it was a fuck ton of work.
Oh, I can imagine. Yeah, I can imagine.
Still a lot of work. Still a
Yeah.
lot of work.
Yeah.
We got a great team, and our core team working on that project from my right hand, Eugene Morton, who's our GM at the space, so he books all the activations. My wife and Maggie, you guys know Jess, my wife,
Yeah.
and Maggie Gagliardi, who's on our board, but she owns Dead Rabbit Co. Dead Rabbit Design. She and Jess are basically the marketing team.
Yeah.
And then we've got a gentleman by the name of Xavier, who's handling like a lot of the private event stuff, and Daryl Wells does our food and beverage. He's the one that has made the cocktails.
Nice.
And working on the food trucks and stuff. And I've been the unpaid CEO, kind of project manager of the whole thing. I should say
Unsung hero.
we're all unpaid for the most part. This has been definitely
Just a big labor of love.
yeah. It's just trying to do something that we feel like if we don't do it, it's not gonna exist.
Right.
And it's simple as that. And feeling like it's it's grown beyond beer. The festival was built to be obviously a fundraiser for the scholarship. Mm-hmm. But it was like, if we're going to fundraise for the scholarship, we're going to try and put black folks and brown folks into brewing school, then we also have to create space and change the spaces in which people drink beer in to create diversity in the spaces where we're drinking beer, and not just be like, go to this demographic to try and put them into an industry that we don't have any connection to from a cultural standpoint. So I was trying to like create space that also drives that. But we always said, like, man, the festival's one day a year, and we're trying to like really make impact on an industry and a culture.
Mm-hmm.
So
What are we doing for the other 364?
Yeah, right. That is not just, collabs are great and fundraising's great, but fundraising's a lot of work in general. So it's just like, there was always this bigger vision in my brain, and the team agrees with this, to be like, how can we evolve this? What does it mean for the long term? And not that we had it all laid out like that, but the opportunity to do the beer garden was like, okay, gives us the chance to create space in a long-term capacity, in a residual way that is not just a residual fundraiser for the scholarship, but also a residual space, like a new space that doesn't exist, that is like cultural equity downtown New Haven. And when you think about New Haven as a whole, there is no space like Cedar Park that exists in general, but especially there's not a lot of spaces that are instinctively and intentionally built around black and brown culture. Mm-hmm. So to be able to do that, it becomes bigger than beer. It becomes about cultural and social equity in that same way. It becomes about community impact and cultural impact. And at the same time, if we can do that and still fundraise for scholarships and still put a new demographic onto an amazing, really dope industry, while also doing something bigger than all of us, man, that's like, it's the dream. It's one of the most fulfilling things I've done, I think, in my whole life, period.
Yeah, because it's phenomenal. I mean, I know you guys haven't been able to make it, but when I got there for the pre-opening, and it was just like, this is going to be a thing. No, it's really, it's one of those things where it has a grown-up club vibe.
It's funny because like some of our partners, like Wind Down CT, I don't know if you guys have ever heard of that, but two ladies that are doing this pop-up event called Wind Down CT. That is just dope. They just do a good thing, and they've been on board with the project since the jump. They've been collaborators in a bunch of things we've done. They helped us with marketing, like leading up to launching the event and stuff, sponsorships. But they're like the same thing. When they created, they're like, where do you go if you're like over 30?
Yeah.
You don't
Yeah.
You want to dance, and you want to have a good time, you want to have good energy, but like, where do you go to get that? That's not a club,
Yeah.
So it's pretty cool for CETA to be able to fill that niche as well,
I've always felt that breweries, for me personally, breweries have always kind of fit that mold that I wanted. A place to hang out, listen to good music, chill with people, and have that club vibe without being in a club and worrying about getting into a scrap with someone.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
It's like, and I feel like the demographic that's been showing up in terms of like age and respectfulness have been great. There's been no issues, and I feel like even at my age, I'm like, man, I ain't got time for beef.
Exactly.
No.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't have the
Yeah.
body temperament for it.
No,
Or energy.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to tell you, you're good luck, because I'm going for the.
doesn't get better.
But yeah, I think it's been instinctively kind of fostering this really cool energy with really good demographic of people that like just want to have a good time and enjoy themselves.
Yeah.
And we sell a lot of we have 4 draft cocktails on tap, and we sell more of those than any other beverage. But we do a fair amount of beer, and it's dope to see this like diverse demographic drinking and trying beer. So one of the things, especially over the next couple of months, the big thing was like, let's get open, let's get our feet under us, let's get this thing set up and ready to go. And then now starting to incorporate more beer tasting into the thing and education and stuff like that, not just with our staff, but with clientele that come, and focusing a little more, promoting the beer a little bit more. But at first it was just like, oh, let's get people in the space, let's give a good energy and give a good vibe and make everybody feel comfortable and want to be a part of this. And then we'll start evolving the beer education, if you will. But it won't feel like, we're not trying to put on classes per se. Definitely something I want to do, but really let's just like provide opportunities to try stuff.
Yeah,
exactly. Lower the barrier entry. You try some stuff that you wouldn't maybe necessarily try.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think that's the biggest thing with black and brown culture, is trying to get the mindset of
Get out of your shell.
if it's not a Heineken, Corona, Budweiser, Bud Light, it's not really some. I don't want to pay.
don't leave my Modelo out.
I don't want to. I don't want to pay $12 for for a 4-pack, just to get that mindset out. And it's funny because like everywhere, I'm sure you have this conversation all the time. Everywhere I go, we have this conversation of how to broaden the demographic for craft beer, and it's like, everyone tries to have an answer on their end, and it's like that's not really where you need to be, because it's not really you. It's the people that you want to come in those spaces, just to make sure that when they come, you treat them like everybody else. And you don't, oh my God, I'm happy you're here. Come here. I wanted you to try everything. No, just treat them like, everybody.
Jesus, if anyone ever did that.
I personally would like it. Just for me.
And it's more
I'd be
so,
mortified for people.
It's more so on education of, on the other side, because there's just people out there that just don't know.
Yeah, well, I think that's both sides of it, right? Because there is the reality is you can be as welcoming as you want to be at a brewery, but it's still predominantly a very white space.
Yes.
Right. So if you're black and brown, and you walk in the space, even though everybody's comfortable and everyone's cool,
yeah.
you still walk in and you might get a look that you recognize being black in this space that wouldn't recognize with other people, and there's still this level of not feeling comfortable, because it's hard instinctively to feel comfortable outside of your own space and outside of your own thing. So if you walk into a space that's not playing the music you listen to, and there's no one else in there that looks like you, and you don't know much about the thing to begin with,
Right.
it's hard to just be like, this is a place I want to go
Hang
try
out.
and hang out. So that's to me, that's why CETA and things like CETA are so important, because it's like, let's creating a comfortable environment for the culture that's already here, and then bringing beer into that space. That's why the beer festival is built around black and brown culture, because it's like, let's create a black and brown space and bring beer into this, instead of keep trying to invite black and brown folks into white spaces. And really change where the access point into craft beer is, so that because currently the only access to craft beer is through white spaces. When you talk to a lot of people that either have tried it or they learned about it, even people of color, they're like, well, I learned about it from my white friends who brought over some 6-packs or something like that. Or I was in a white space. My entrance into the industry was through a white space, So
Mine too.
So it's about like creating new spaces. So that's not the only space to be able to try and sample, and sample beer.
Places like, Change in the Air Brewfest and Cedar Park, when you're going to these other breweries, or, what you were saying is, predominantly white spaces, when you're walking in there, I'm assuming that, and I can only assume that, there's a level of vulnerability that you have to put out there to get, answers to what kind of beer is this? What kind of beers would I like?
Absolutely.
You know, but when you go to a space built around, black and brown people, you don't have to have that guard up, that vulnerability up. And then, that's just one more hurdle that you don't have to go through.
Yeah, and that is no different for anyone else or any culture, right?
Right.
If you go into a Jamaican spot and you're a white guy and you don't really eat Jamaican food, there's a level of like self-comfort and confidence that you have to be like, all right, what is oxtail versus what is jerk chicken?
Right.
I don't want to be the one in here being like, what's oxtail and jerk chicken, right? And it's universal, I think, across any culture. It's just being comfortable in your own skin to go in a space to then be vulnerable is not the easiest thing to do for
it's
anyone.
daunting for
No, it's not.
Yeah.
My wife always tells me that I'm just different. Well, it helps that I grew up in West Hartford and I was the only black kid in school.
Well, that's
One of two.
You were
One-
introduced to it in a very young age.
Yeah. It makes for a different experience when there's two black people in a grade and they split you.
Yeah, I grew up in Vernon, so I was working at a Jewish deli before when I got into the beers. So it's like being comfortable in white spaces is not is something that came with my come up,
Right.
But not everybody has that experience and can feel that way and be that way. And even in that spaces, I still have to sometimes
Be mindful.
get my mind right.
Yeah. You gotta be mindful of where you are and I can't say that here.
Circa 1978, my aunt was marrying her husband, and I can remember clearly, I was like 6 years old. My grandmother's in the bathroom crying, "You're ruining your life, blah, blah, blah," because my uncle was a black man. And I couldn't understand and fathom why that made him any less of a person. He loved her, he loved all of us, he was good to all of us.
Yeah.
And it was, and I still think of that today when they walk into places, how they don't care about the looks. They don't care, and it should be a society. I mean, it's 2024, man. But my aunt is still cognizant of the looks my uncle will get when they walk in as a biracial couple.
Yeah.
And to me, it's just always been, I don't see the difference. People are people. I don't understand why. Growing up in a town, I grew up in a town where we had two black people. One of them lived on a street that was named after the entire family, which I still drive by that street. It's crazy that they had to identify the street at some point in time. This was in the 50s, but I don't understand how much more work has to be done for the acceptance. The vision of craft beer is still those bearded white dudes in flannels. I don't feel like that's, and the long beards.
Yeah.
And the long beards. How can we, how can I help? Besides supporting change in the air, besides welcoming people, what else can be done on our end?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a lift for everyone, but there has to be more things like CETA. We always said it, we can't be the only thing.
Yeah.
It's a big part. Even when at NEBCO, when we started the scholarship, I wanted to create a committee outside of NEBCO to focus on the endowment because it couldn't just be a NEBCO lift, It couldn't. And if you think about it, people of color coming into an industry, and if there's one brewery is the only brewery that thinks this is a good idea to do, then you think the whole thing's full of shit. At least I would, So
it doesn't have the if everyone's not on board, it doesn't have the same cachet.
Yeah.
If it's just one
Same
brewery.
weight behind it.
Yeah.
And there's the reality, like you said. I don't think craft beer is intentionally trying to be
Correct.
bearded white dudes, but
Right.
when there's a wheel set in motion, unless you literally stop the wheel and change the direction of it, it won't.
Right.
So the scholarship and the CETA is just about breaking the wheel. It's about changing the course intentionally. You have to be intentional, and I think there's a lot of hesitancy with people wanting to be well, I don't want to give people of color an opportunity just because they're people of color, and I don't want to single out or try to hire people of color just because they're people of color, because now aren't I being racist or aren't I being discriminatory in another way? And there's just a necessity for thoughtfulness.
Facts.
And so even that, so when I think about things like Seeded, I think about even my entrance into the industry, I've got that opportunity because of the sacrifice my mom was made 20 years ago for me to be in that space. And thousands of black folks, but you talk about civil rights and all the things, but beer bars in general, restaurants is a place where people used to gather and make deals happen, and things used to happen, and those were segregated places.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's not something that was like, and then when black folks were allowed into these spaces, they weren't front of house, they were back of house. So when you think about, all right, access into the beer industry usually goes through a few ways. It's you are working at a restaurant or a liquor store, and maybe the rep that works for that distributor, and then you get a sales route or a merchandising route or something because of the relationship that you have. Most distributors are family-owned things.
Yeah.
A lot of those early employees are people friends of the family and friends of friends of other employees, and they're looking to hire people that may have already have experience within the industry, right? So that's a system, that's a closed loop right there, because the only people that have access are white folks, right? The only people that have experience are white folks. The only people that are front of house in these positions to get into this industry are white folks. So you've got this closed loop that doesn't allow for anything else. And that has to be changed intentionally. So I always think about the sacrifice that was made by all those before me to feeling now this trying to evolve this industry and create new spaces and new opportunity is just playing my part in whatever is next, because other people had to play the part for me to be able to play this part here prior. And it's just a necessity for evolution and growth overall from people, from everyone. So I don't have a clean answer of what can you do specifically. It's being thoughtful and being conscious and supporting the things that can be supported and pushing the envelope a little bit.
Did you have to pause?
Nope.
Oh, I saw you hovering.
Caught it.
So my biggest standout brewery from last year's Change in the Year was Harlem Hops, and I'm going to tell you why. Those dudes are cool as shit.
Man. Roger's a real one. He's a gem. Roger and it was Kevin. Kevin owns Harlem Hops, but you haven't been down there. It's worth the drive. It's a dope little spot he's got there in Harlem, right off 125th train station too. Easy walking distance.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, great beers. Nice highlight on Black and Brown owned breweries, but he's got great beers of all kinds in there, and a good little snacky food program, and just a good vibe and energy.
Yeah, I started following him because he just caught my attention. I don't know how many times I went back there just to hang out with him.
He was hilarious.
He's a good dude.
I really enjoyed myself
hilarious.
over there.
Roger?
Roger.
Roger, yeah.
And I just stood there talking his beer. Right, Roger is the beer guy. Yep,
Yeah.
Roger talking his beer up, and he's like, "Do you want my job?" And I'm like, "No, I just want to hang out here because you guys are fun." Kevin was on the quiet side, but he made him warm up to me because that's what I do.
Roger's great. He's a great vocalist too. He's in a ska band.
Really?
Yeah, they bop around.
I didn't
New
mean
York
to.
and stuff.
Sorry. That excited me. I like ska.
Yeah. No, he's awesome. We're trying to get him. He's been working on the Copper Sons project for a while. He was originally one of the owners of. I'm gonna forget it. It's Foursquare. I shouldn't have even brought it up if I don't remember the name.
That's all right.
It's all right.
Shout out whatever it is.
Yeah, shout out to Copper Sun, man. Good dude, good beer.
Yeah.
Rooting for him. So hopefully he'll be back at Cedar Fest this year.
That'd be
Schedules are
cool.
always the issue.
I'm gonna walk up like I own the place.
Yeah.
Remember me?
And he also bartends at Harlem Hops. You probably seen him there if you go down
All
there.
right.
okay.
See, field trip.
Yeah, we do have to do a field trip out there. Yeah, because he's a good dude.
Yeah.
I love trains. Let's do it.
Yeah.
It's an easy ride, man.
It is.
Yes.
Drive down to New Haven, take the train down there.
Yep.
125th.
Okay.
Harlem Hops.
I'm just gonna get on the train.
Shout out
I'm just
Harlem
gonna do what people tell me to do. You guys are in charge. I just follow. I'll be there drinking.
Damn.
Yeah. Whatever. Are we ready for all my questions?
Shoot.
You haven't asked any of your questions?
Why am I talking a lot?
No.
No.
Am I talking a lot? You can be honest
Hey,
with
man,
me.
it's a podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what's supposed to happen.
We want to hear you though, because we want to give you the voice. But anyway, here I am.
We'll just cut it out later.
Yeah. So you are quite the philanthropist. You do a lot of different things. What really got you started in that?
I think during COVID, like a lot of people, it's probably the first time in my career that I've ever had opportunity to sit and think. And think in a way about, not just think, but think in a way about my place in community, in culture, in the industry. When you're black in this industry, especially over the last 20 years, and I think this probably resonates for anybody who's black or brown, especially black, because when we talk about black history in America, it hits differently than other nationalities per se. But there's this reality of working in an industry, just trying to be the best at what you are in the industry, feeling like you have to work a little harder than everybody else, and just doing that. So there's not like space or opportunity to be like, well, how can I improve this industry? How can I evolve this industry? It was not like something that I thought I ever had time for or done. And truly, craft beer has been incredibly welcome to me. I've had issues to deal with, but in the grand majority of it has been a great industry with good people, and I've made some of my best friends in the world and some of the best relationships that I'm truly grateful for. But COVID was a time for me to like be able to sit and think about that. The NEBCO, we actually split the whole company into two teams that worked opposite weeks, especially for the first 3 months. So we didn't know how long this was going to last, what it was going to be, but we just knew like if 2 brewers got sick, we were probably fucked.
Right.
Yeah.
And you talk about we're at capacity, so the brewery being shut down for a few days throws off
Everything,
a lot of things, especially if we're shut down for 2 weeks. Now you're like really losing a month because it takes 3 weeks to make that beer again and so forth. So I was home every other week, and we worked from home, but there's only so much you can really do from home during COVID. That year I had a plan to build a garden, and that's the year I started working on my garden because I had the time, and built a greenhouse, and just a lot of time and thought, and obviously the George Floyd murders and a lot of things going on, and talked to my team. Well, one of the things was about Black Tuesday. I don't know if you guys remember that, but that was a time where like everybody posted a black square.
Yeah.
So, and I had just taken over the marketing at NEBCO, and it was a conversation we had about posting that and the idea of like, is that political or not? And for the first time, like having a thoughtful conversation with Rob, the owner, and other directors about like, for me, it never really has the opportunity to be political. Before I put on the CHAG shirt, I got to wake up and be black in America first every day. And the things that are going on that may feel political to others because they don't necessarily directly affect your lives are not political to me. It's life. And they were like, word, we get it. What can we do? And we talked about the reality of like, well, what does that mean when we talk about community? We do a lot for community. We didn't have anything at the time focused on black community at all. And we're in Woodbridge, but we're on the New Haven line, right? Amity Road. So when we talk about community, the question was like, well, who do we mean? Who do we really talk about? And Rob was like, you're right. Who should we cut a check to? And I was like, I don't really want to cut a check. I think we want to let's do something that's impactful, that actually provides legacy and helps move this thing. So
you can see.
Yeah.
It's not just someone cashed a check and you're like, okay, yeah, great, they cashed a check.
Right.
But you get to, physically see this event, like, change in the air and stuff. But
exactly. So it became, it took some time to think, and I came back with like, let's start an equality committee. Let's start like a committee, employee-led, for whoever that wants to be a part of it, to come up with ideas and move that kind of agenda forward so that we can be thoughtful and do things that are actually impactful as opposed to just like writing a check. So he was like, all right, dope, let's do it. So we did that, started a little committee, and half the company joined, and we were all in a room being like, what we can do, and the idea came about like creating a scholarship. And that led us down the rabbit hole of, well, what does that really mean? How do you start a scholarship? And Greg, our director of brewery ops, was the one that was like, yeah, there's Sacred Heart is starting a brewing science program. I wonder if they'd be willing to talk to us. So I called them. I don't know if you guys know Jeff Stopper, but Jeff Stopper is local well-known beer guy, but also was a professor there at Sacred Heart. He helped launch and design that brewing science program. We gave him a call and talked about it. He was like, this is amazing. We would love to be a part of this. So I got on a call with the people that handle scholarships there.
Yeah.
And got this toolage. I'm like, what does it mean to start a scholarship? Excuse me. And there's two ways. There's two major things. There's an annual scholarship and an endowed scholarship. So annual being that you pay for it annually every year. Someone writes that check. And an endowed being that you create funds, you put funds into an account, an interest earning account, and the interest from that account pays for said scholarship. So depending on, and it's, every school does this, but they basically pool all those scholarship dollars, they put them into one account that incurs more interest. The more money that's in there is the more that it earns, so to speak. And we were in that position where, okay, we're learning, we're going to do that, so let's do an annual. We decided to do an annual scholarship and an endowed scholarship because the idea was creating impact now, but also creating impact that was going to be legacy, that was going to live beyond all of us, that was going to really affect this industry long term. And the thing about an endowed scholarship is that, so the brewing science program at Sacred Heart University, in which we wrote the scholarship for, is an 11-month long program that costs $15,000.
Yeah.
That's a real number.
That is.
Especially for a lot of people that get into the industry aren't like a vocation. This isn't Germany. You're not coming out of high school like, I'm going to be a brewer.
Right.
Yeah.
So that means someone else is leaving another career to invest this $15 into something like this. And when we talk about someone who's black or brown, that's a real number.
Yeah.
That's a real thing. That's a real transition into an industry that you don't necessarily even know that like what this is going to be, because it's not embedded in our culture in the same way. So there's going to be folks that navigate through and are like passionate about beer and want to grab this opportunity, but we wanted to make sure that we covered the full tuition so that this would be a full commitment without having to worry about that part of it. But also it was like NEBCO can't pay that forever. So the endowed scholarship was important because we wanted something to live beyond, so that it wasn't just a NEBCO lift, and it was something that was always going to be available, of course. But that means raising $250,000 to have enough interest to spin off to pay for that $15,000.
Wow.
Wow.
So we put a goal to. That's when I was like, all right, I will start this committee of folks outside of NEBCO, or anyone from NEBCO can join. That was the deal. But of course, trying to reach out to other breweries, other people that I know in the industry that just want to be a part of this cause. And we would focus on the fundraising for the endowed scholarship while NEBCO would write the check for 15. And we did things internally to not just write that check, but to like bring awareness to what we're writing that check for. So that's collaborations with other breweries. That's the quality IPA taproom beer that we were doing for a while. That was part of that. We stopped doing that as much because we are doing more collaborations with other breweries and doing that whole thing. So that's where the little that committee first was the first year we were like, all right, how do we fundraise for raising all this money? And we did a bunch of things to kick it off. Jess, before we were married at the time, this was during COVID, did a bottle share fundraiser, her and Tom M.
Yeah.
They reached out to all their friends and stuff. So that raised like $8,000 in the first thing. We had some like good momentum going.
Nice.
But then it became like, we need some bigger fundraisers and some bigger impacts, and the bandwidth is an issue too, being able to do it all. So that's where the idea of the festival came up. We're like, well, we know how to do a beer festival. Let's do that. But then it was like, all right, if we're going to do a beer festival, though, we're just going to create another white space and fundraise for the scholarship.
Yeah.
And are we really doing that? So that's where the thought was like, we need to do something thoughtful and intentional and building a black and brown space. And I don't know if you guys ever heard of Barrel and Flow.
Yes. Yes.
But that was like the blueprint, because when we started talking about it as a team and the things we wanted to have, I'm like, y'all would talk about Fresh Fest. At the time, it was called Fresh Fest. And I was like, this is a great idea. And I pulled it up on YouTube for the team, and we all looked at it, and I was like, this is what we need to create. So they were the blueprint, like, this is possible. Like, people will come to something if we do this. And that's where, that first year, Changing the Air Festival was born. And we named it Changing the Air Fest because Karim Callan, who's our first scholarship recipient, he is the brewer and owner of Best Friends Lunch. We did a collaboration with Dockside Brewing that first year. My boy Andy was still the brewer over there at the time, and he wanted to do a collab just to fundraise for the scholarship. And I was like, let's bring in Best Friends Lunch. He's actually a scholarship recipient, but he's a brewer already. We brought him in. He came up with the name Changing the Air for that beer. And when we talked about doing the festival, we're like, man, that's just a great name.
Yeah.
Because the idea of change in the air.
Yeah.
It's like, And we released it on Juneteenth that first year, so the idea was also like, can you imagine slaves finding out for the first time that they're free and taking their first breath of fresh air? And it was like this, just a really cool name that said a lot with also without being so serious at the same time, but was also thoughtful if you really took some time. So we thought, like, let's change the Air Festival. That just makes total sense. And from there, it spun off to be like, well, the festival is one aspect, but you can't get the fundraising without answering these other questions and filling these other gaps. So, thank you for calling me a philanthropist. I don't really see myself that way. I just feel like I've had a lot of time and a lot of blessings, and there's a lot of people that did things for an opportunity for me to be here. So, doing my part, in that part of that.
Not wasting it.
Yeah.
Changing the Air isn't the only organization that you're a part of. Like, unless the internet is wrong, you also sit on a committee in New Haven for gardening.
I sit on the New Haven Green Fund board. Yeah, it is a endowment fund that was created to award grants to organizations and folks that are doing things to affect climate change, not just climate change, but environmental issues. Just making the planet and the world a little bit better of a place, whether that's through someone who wants to do a community garden, or sometimes it's, people that are doing air quality studies because Tweed is moving into New Haven, or it's, water testing quality or coming up with new things. So it's just providing funds to organizations that are impacting the greater New Haven community from a environmental standpoint.
So this is where I'm going to go, because I read your 40 under 40. And there was quite a few things that, so that was in what, 22?
There's...
No, but year, 2022
Yeah.
was 40 under 40?
You talking about the Hartford 40 under 40?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So you wanted to become a garden master. Master gardener.
Master gardener is on
Gardener.
on my bucket list, yeah.
How does one become a master gardener? Like,
so there's agricultural and gardening farming courses that schools have. So UConn has a master gardening course. A lot of universities do have that. UConn's one of the better ones, so that's on my list. I'm in the middle of building a little half-acre homestead. The plan is for it to be fully sustainable at some point. But yeah, we've got chickens and a full garden, and next big steps are water retention. We put solar on last year. So we're trying to, this year the garden is not what it was in previous years, because CETA has just been just taking a lot of time.
Yeah.
But we would have 6-7 months of produce that we didn't have to get at a grocery store. And the goal with that was also to create something that other people can benefit from. We talked about doing like a little neighborhood CSA, or being able to donate food to those in need and stuff like that. It's just one of the projects I'm trying to develop in the meantime, and CETA is kind of taking over in terms of importance. But I'm a geek. I love the gardening, and not just from I grew up. My family's from Mount James in Jamaica, and we grew up gardening. And my mom, when we moved to Vernon, we had space. We had a big ass garden, so that's always something that was always instinctive to me. I've always had a garden. Before I moved to New Haven, I always had at least a little garden at my house. So it was something to be able that I've always had this grandiose thing of wanting to build this homestead, even on a small scale, but like in an urban setting, like a little bitty homestead. And it's been a goal, trying to do that. And then joining the Green Fund has been rewarding and cool, because feeling like I'm a part of making sure these funds are going to things that actually affect my community and environment in general. And then of course, CETA.
one more. Beekeeping was mentioned. Beekeeping. And I'm going to ask specifically because, I got a whole bee lesson, honey lesson from our friend Talon at Bergen House, who gave me all kinds of tidbits. And I was like, all right, I'm not killing bees, but I don't like them. And he's like, you wouldn't be drinking my mead if we didn't have the bees, Lisa.
Right, need the bees.
Need the bees.
For more than just mead.
Yeah.
So he went on and gave me a whole lesson. So you at some point would like to be a beekeeper as well?
That's on my list as part of the homestead for bees to be a part of it.
And you don't
that's
think you're a
always
philanthropist?
Maybe not in the traditional sense.
Is it the humble, like the humility of you, like you're just too humble to accept that you are a man of many ways to give back to your community, to the world, or is it that you just truly don't see yourself that way? Because from the outside, I'm going to tell you, you're pretty dope at doing
all right,
things
man.
for other people, man.
I appreciate that. Yeah, I don't know. From the traditional sense, I guess I've always thought of philanthropy as just people doing more, doing more.
Yeah.
But you are doing more.
But,
When you stop and think, who else is doing what you do?
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, I mean, there's other people for sure. I think I've been a center focus of it in our region.
Yep. Well, because Connecticut's small, right? I mean, and not to take away the work from anyone else in the state that's doing the work, but I think that when it comes down to the honest business focal point, I know you'll hate this word just because you are so humble, is like the limelight of drawing the attention to the work that needs to be done. It is you. You are, the face of change in the air in Connecticut.
Where did you come up with that?
I don't know. I read it on a hat
Pull it
somewhere.
out of the air.
But you have to at some point, and I know like Jess is just as humble as you are too, and she's like, oh, we just do what we do, and but at some point I would really like to see you guys take a step back and really look at yourselves for the work that you have done, because you do have a festival, you do have organizations, you do a lot of work outside of just the beer industry, but also you guys are kind of big names in the beer industry.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks.
It's true. It's true.
Yeah.
Pumping those tires.
Yeah, right?
I just.
This is a not paid podcast.
right.
If there's, I'm getting nothing in return.
No money has exchanged.
Except beer. I might have a beer or two.
Yeah, there's beer, for sure. No, I hear you. I appreciate it. It's one of those things where we've been getting our flowers. I've got my flowers, the 40 under 40s, and we've got a few of them, which is cool. Not something you work for, but it's cool to be recognized for. It's rewarding to see. It's more than the awards or recognition. It's rewarding to see the change. It's like, goddamn, it's like gratifying. It feels like you're doing something that matters, and it's a lot of work and time and energy that has to come in place of other things, right?
Yeah,
so,
just ask your garden. I mean,
that's my garden, that's my wife, that's
Right.
the dogs. It's time that could be at the beach, that could be on the boat, that could be paddleboarding or on the garden and whatever, and we do it because it matters and because it won't happen otherwise. And sometimes it's hard to feel like doing something that matters. Sometimes I'm like, does this shit even matter at all?
Right.
Does it matter? Is it affecting enough lives to be impactful enough to like take this much time and energy and stress and mental health out of me? And then I see things like Oren Ferris, who is a brewer at Athletic Brewing now, but was one of our first scholarship recipients, and is also a board member at CETA, and has been a huge part of opening CETA Park. And like, he was there with us in the trenches, hanging sunshades in the fucking rain and digging ditches and mixing cement. Like, so the physical labor on top of the planning, and feeling like, yo, this dude is just one of the examples of someone who was in insurance before and loved beer and wanted to transition, didn't have an avenue to get there without sacrificing and doing something. And it still takes sacrifice, because you talk to any brewer who came up from an apprentice side, they had to cut their teeth and
Definitely.
And he's no different. So like, that dude is a dude that worked crazy hours in both jobs doing this brewing science program that is not an easy program, and then graduating and then making the transition to be a brewer and like doing that. It's one of those things that I'm like, all right, if it's one person, we're doing some shit that matters, and that feels honestly better than any recognition. And I think sometimes it's easy I never want to like get in my head and feel like this shit isn't bigger than me, and I know Jess feels the same way. And it's just like, there's a part of just needing to not just give back, but to also it's a sense of like responsibility now that I've felt since COVID of like, nah, I'm in this position because I need to be able to have other people in other parts of this industry benefit. And there's not a lot of black folks in this industry that have been in it as long as I have and have the relationships that I have. So if not me, then who?
Yeah.
And that's just about kind of answering that call.
I'm sorry, I'm lazy. I'm not going to go out and like start a foundation or anything, but I'll support yours like a motherfucker. I'll support yours like a motherfucker.
Yeah, starting a nonprofit's a pain in the ass, man. It's there's a lot of nights and days on this thing where it's when you lead up to that festival. Sometimes it's even hard. Like during the festival, you guys see me, I'm running.
Oh
around.
yeah.
So it's like hard to even enjoy.
But you guys handle it with such grace, though. Like, you guys don't look heated. You don't look stressed. You're just like straight faced, going about your business.
Yeah.
And I know inside it has to be a completely different feeling. But
You can tell that you can see sometimes, I've seen stress on like yours and Jess's face during the change in the air, and trying to make sure things are going right. But no, I mean, we'd know you wouldn't be doing it if you didn't love it.
Yeah, exactly.
So I mean, there's joy in that stress. If there's a thing, there's actually joy in the stress that is you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, listen.
I know that went deep. I'm just saying for Brando, it went deep.
Nah, if you gotta be stressed about something, this is one of the things that feel good about being stressed.
Right.
Yeah.
For sure.
it's a good stress? Is
Good
that what you're
stress.
trying to say?
Yeah.
Happy
Better
stress?
stresses than
Well, I
other
don't know about
stresses.
happy.
We'll say that.
It's just good.
But Spin Cycle is you guys may or may not know, is a limited release we do all the time. This is the 49th
What?
version of it,
49?
and every time it's a different hop.
Are we recording?
Oh, okay.
It's a single hop.
All right, well, cut this. You're telling me you have 49 versions of Spin Cycle, and Tony had to cut Dancing with Tony? Tony Goes Dancing?
We're not cutting that.
Like, Tony should dance on. 49 Spin Cycles.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, Spin Cycle it's a taproom only release, so we don't distribute it, and it is made to highlight individual hops. So it's always like a single hopped, IPA. We use new stuff. We experiment with stuff. I shouldn't say that. It's not always single hopped, but it's meant to highlight
A specific hop.
Yeah.
But some of our dopest beers have come out of this Spin Cycle, and like so, if we like them, they turn into something. Stego has turned in, was originally a Spin Cycle.
Oh.
Double Fuzzy, Triple Fuzzy were originally.
No kidding.
Triple Double Hag was originally a Spin Cycle.
Ooh, that's nice.
First.
Man, that first Triple Fuzzy release.
Oh,
Were you
man.
there for that? Were you
No, not the
like
first
on
one.
premises?
I couldn't even get in the parking lot.
Yeah. That was when
I
we
went,
had
yeah,
right?
yeah, all three, and I couldn't even get in the
I
fucking parking lot.
literally left my house at 3 a.m. to drive down for those Triple Fuzzies.
It's so
it-
wild. Yeah.
It's wild to think about what you did for beer
Yeah.
back then.
Yeah.
You know what
Yeah.
I mean? And now it's just like, and not to say that the beer isn't as good, it's just more available because we have so many breweries now. But Triple Fuzzy was like,
Yeah.
so there was Fuzzy Ducks, cool, and the whole merchandising behind Fuzzy Ducks is phenomenal.
It is.
And then you go to Double Fuzzy and it's like, ooh,
Yep.
Fuzzy times 2? Okay. And you get your hands on some Fuzzy. But Triple Fuzzy was like the elite, the most elite of the ducks. And damn,
The most elite.
The most elite of the ducks.
most elite of the ducks.
Yeah, it's
most
crazy.
sought after.
1% of ducks.
Yeah.
The fuzzy lines back in the day were bananas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I came up in the industry before there were lines for beer. So when this part of beer started, where all of a sudden beer was so precious that people are willing to wait 4 or 5 hours, I was like, what the fuck is going
Yeah,
on?
yeah.
What are we doing?
Yeah.
Yep.
And maybe I'm just spoiled. But I'm like, I've never had a beer good enough to wait 5 hours in line. I got shit to do,
Yeah.
But it was this huge part of the culture that kind of bloomed up and has like now subsided.
Well, it was those
got
rare and elusive releases, right? So, you know,
Yeah. I mean, the industry always had those rare and elusive releases.
you
It
know
was
what,
about
but
the culture at that time.
but
you
it
know
was
Now been
based
like-
off of great beers to begin with. So you guys had a great beer in Fuzzy Ducks. And then you doubled that.
Double down.
And you had a great turnout from that. And then it was like, those crazy hop heads, because that's what I was at the time, was like just crazy. The more hops, the better, the stronger, the higher the ABV, the more Lisa wanted it.
More
and,
IBUs, just
yeah, skyrocket all that shit. And then just put it out on only 30 cases.
yeah.
And that's going to get me out there early enough. And it's hilarious to think about, even way back when, Ice Cream Man was...
Right.
I bitched at Tony every Saturday he dropped it and I was at work.
But it was crazy.
He knew your schedule.
Yeah, it's like he knew my schedule. It was like, oh yeah, so Ice Cream Man's coming out. I text Tony, I have to work that Saturday, thank you.
Yep.
But the things we did for those,
that
like,
was crazy.
best of the best back then.
Would you do that now?
Not a
No.
chance.
Yeah.
Crazy, right?
No.
Yeah.
It's
I wouldn't.
not a
That
fucking
time wasn't
chance.
that long.
It
Like,
wasn't that
window,
long.
That window of that part of the
It
culture
was literally
wasn't
only
that
5
long.
years ago.
Not even.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not
How
even.
long did it last for? It was only like
2 years?
Yeah.
3 years?
Maybe a year.
No, you know what? I think what killed it was COVID. Honestly.
No, I think it was on the
definitely-
decline
it was
before
on- it was on the
that.
way down before that,
I think it was on the decline, but I think COVID was definitely the that
Nail in
shit.
the coffin.
Yeah.
That shit's done.
I wouldn't wait in my car to drive through a line to get beer.
Yeah. I mean, I did.
Not-
I did it for Triple Scoop. It was the
I'm
first
not
year of
doing
Triple Scoop.
No, at that point I had connections.
Yeah.
I mean, I had connections too, but I don't use mine.
Yeah, it was a crazy time. I watched a bunch of my friends of mine that came up with me in the industry. Not came up working in the industry, but started drinking craft beer because I was now working for a brewery and I was drinking craft beer. And friends of mine that used to drink Bud Light are like driving to Bissell to wait in line.
Yeah.
Created a monster. What is this?
Right.
Real.
You know? But I respect him. Like, he's not drinking Bud Light anymore. This guy
Right,
gets it. You know?
exactly.
Well, that was it. Like, the only time I waited in line at Treehouse in the old days
Yeah.
was
Munson.
before
Munson.
Thanksgiving,
Yeah.
because that's when all of their best beers came out, was
Yep.
before Thanksgiving. And you stood in that stupid mud-filled line
Yep.
waiting
That red barn.
for that. And my husband would call me as he's driving back from work, and he's like, I'm driving by Sturbridge. Do you want me to get anything? And I'm like, go see what the line is like. Like, don't wait in
Yeah,
line for
yeah.
nothing. Because I'm a big believer. I won't ask people to do things I'm not willing to do.
Right.
And I'm not standing in line. He's
Yeah.
like, didn't you say Doppelganger was coming out? And I'm like, check the line. I don't need it that bad. There's plenty of beer around us.
Yeah, I think that was a part of my big beef with it, is that no doubt there was great breweries and waiting in line for a lot of the beers, but not all of those lines. I was like someone who was like, that beer is not that
No.
good.
Yeah.
And there was breweries making good beer that you didn't have to wait in line for.
Exactly.
That was our argument the entire
yeah,
time.
Yeah. That's always been our argument, is that especially by 2018. Yeah, no, there was really no reason. There was enough breweries in Connecticut that made really good beer to where you didn't have to wait in line to actually have to wait in line.
I mean, that was our most angry commented video we did.
Oh, it was, yeah. When we actually did a video of the going to Treehouse,
Like,
and we waited in line.
is waiting in line worth
yeah,
it?
Yeah, and
then
it was like, no, because you don't really have to. I mean, if you want the experience of waiting in line, yeah, sure. And then also, I thought Snap was the Sap was the best beer that they made, and I got shit for that.
Yep.
Because the rest of the beer just tastes the same.
Hands down, any given day, any given Saturday or Sunday, I would have waited in line for Ice Cream Man or Fuzzy Ducks. And I'm not just saying that because you're here. Like, Fuzzy Ducks was one of my big beers.
Yeah,
And before I even drove north,
yeah.
I would not in a million years wait. I mean, come on. You wait in line 3, 4, 5 hours, and you got these people walking out with like thousands of dollars on
Mortgage
their
payments.
carts,
Yeah.
man. Like, what are you doing?
I had to justify it to myself, but like, no, that's one guy getting beer for like 50 people.
Yes.
Yeah.
I had
Yeah.
to justify it in my
Yeah,
head
yeah.
'cause, oh my god. I mean, when we went, I think I paid like $36.
Yeah.
I mean, I was
Got-
getting looks because I bought so little.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
And then
It was
the
like,
guy
yeah, we
next
just
to me
got a
was
couple-
like, oh, that'll be, $2,200. Like, boop. I'm like,
Yeah.
what?
It's wild.
Ballin'.
It's wild.
Yeah.
Oh,
But that's also why they're building that new
Yeah,
facility.
I know.
I forgot what town. They were just had aerial
The next new
shots.
town.
Yeah.
Next new town. Whatever.
Treehouse is one of the guys that did it right. I mean, their beer is delicious,
You know what?
undeniably.
I will never knock Treehouse's hustle. They are, their hustle is
Listen, if you can move
phenomenal.
50,000 barrels through the own premise, through your own tap room,
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy.
big.
I'll never knock their hustle
the
whatsoever.
dream.
That their hustle's legit.
Or their facilities, like
Yeah.
they're just beautiful.
The koi
yeah,
fish.
they
Come
really
on.
do. Like the attention to detail and
Yeah.
is sick.
When I went
Yeah.
there, I was so jealous of the koi fish. It was like, you're fed well.
Yeah, you are. Yeah. That's that
Sometimes
treehouse
I-
fish.
Yeah.
All fat and hearty. Tell your friends.
Don't call me names. Wow, hurtful.
Cut that.
So what beer would you wait in line for? 5 years ago. 5 years ago, what beer would you? None.
I was not the one. I was not the wait in line guy.
Yeah.
And again, I was spoiled. I had a lot of great beers, and I had great beers before most of what is now beer culture and community knew they existed. You know,
Yeah.
I was, back in 2008, and I'm at the Great American Beer Fest and trying Pliny the Elder for the first time. That was one of the
my
ones I was
God.
like, "What the fuck is this?"
Yeah.
You know? And then even honestly, when I worked for Blue Point, the reason I wanted to work for Blue Point was because I tried Optical Illusion for the first time. And at the time, especially in Connecticut, there was no IPA. There was no IPA using Amarillo. Amarillo
No.
was the Citra of that
Yeah,
time.
Right,
It was
right.
brand new.
Yeah.
Blue Point was pretty much buying the whole crop and putting it in Optical. And it was like this. It was only 6.2 at that time. And it was just like bright and grapefruit and clean and mellow, a lot of aroma, like almost no bitterness. Like bitterness was so balanced.
They nailed everything.
Yeah, and I was
Yeah.
like, what the hell is this? And I was not an IPA drinker at the time. I was still working at Hartford Distributors for the Anheuser-Busch side, and I was in charge of bringing in new craft brands on top of managing some of the craft brands and the kind of innovations portfolio from Anheuser-Busch. And Blue Point was one of the ones I was like, not only do I want to work for these guys, but what the fuck is this hop coffee? This is
Yeah.
delicious.
Yeah.
So it was like stuff like that where I think, and I would say a lot of us in the industry that were working in the industry would probably give the same kind of answer. There was
Yeah.
like, we all were like, what the fuck are people doing waiting in line for all these beers? Not to deny how good they are
Right.
by any means, but it was just like, you
Just call me a loser.
Came from a different place. But it was, it was insensitive because we were in the industry. We had friends that were brewers.
Yeah.
You didn't go anywhere where another brewer was
Right.
and not bring a beer and vice versa. So
Right.
like, it was a different kind of access.
Your
where it was like-
your
You,
access.
you were
was-
getting the good
yeah.
stuff. Just
Just being friends.
Yeah, your access to the
Yeah.
beer was just that much easier
Yeah.
than the normies. I was a normie back then. I was still drinking Sam Adams.
All right. But
Shout
I think
out Sam Adams.
2018.
that did a lot
In
of things.
2018,
No, you said 08. You said 18 or 08?
he said 08. I
08.
said 18.
Oh, no. In 08, I'm talking about
Too many
08.
eights for you?
Yeah,
Confusing?
08,
Okay.
I was still drinking Sam Adams.
I was still
Yep.
drinking Bud Heavy. I was a classy kind of gal.
Cooler than you, I guess.
When I think about Beer Fest at that time, like when I was working for Blue Point and Beer Fests were like new. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? So
yeah.
everyone that came to a beer fest was like, what is this shit? You know?
Yeah.
I'm behind the bar basically giving beer education behind those taps as much as we were sampling beers. No one knew, anything about any beer. So when I think about even changing the air, one of the first year especially, a lot of the brewers gave me feedback that was like, this was so refreshing because it felt like the beer fest of the old days. People are asking questions.
Yeah.
They were like,
Yeah.
what is this? I want to learn. I want to
Yeah.
know. Nobody's drunk. Everyone's like curious. And it's when I think about building craft beer and putting craft beer in black and brown spaces, it's like we're doing it in a very similar way that it happened for the white community. It just
Yes.
didn't happen that way. There just
Yeah.
wasn't marketed and there wasn't opportunity in the same way in black and brown communities. But like everyone that came to a beer fest back in the day, nobody knew shit about beer.
Yeah.
No one was coming up
Yeah.
like, oh yeah, that's Amarillo. People were like, what the fuck are hops? And I was
Yeah.
giving a lot of beer education classes at bars and to my own sales team at HDI. Part of my job was educating the sales team on these new brands and innovation brands and beer in general. You got guys that have been selling Bud and Bud Light for 20 years and they didn't know anything about
Yep.
beer, actually. Didn't even know how it was brewed.
What hops are in those? Are there hops?
Yeah, what are hops?
It's beer.
It's corn and water.
I think the first Brewers Guild that I went to at the Oakdale, Charter Oak, I asked them a million questions because
Yeah.
they had a beer, and I can't tell you anything about the beer or what it was or anything like that, but I remember the experience that I had a million questions because whatever they brought was like something I hadn't tasted yet. So I asked a million questions, and then I saw the line behind me, and I was like, oh, I'm sorry. And they're like, no, you have to keep going. And I was like, no, these people are going to get really angry. And one of the guys stood off to the side, and he's like, no, I want to answer your questions because they're good questions. And I was like,
Wow. Yeah.
okay.
And you think about brewers, especially in the old days, there was brewers and sales reps who were all like small and niche. Everybody wanted to talk about beer.
Yeah.
Right.
Geeked out about beer.
Yeah. Hell
Someone
yeah.
like actually asking questions so we could talk about it in a cool way. That's great.
I mean,
it started falling off and getting like not fun when people are coming up like, what's your strongest IPA? What's
Right.
your biggest IPA? Like,
Yeah.
And then it was like, or when people already knew, they're like, I'm waiting in line for a specific beer and didn't want to like branch out anymore. And then when New England IPAs got big and we were like, everyone was like, I want Treehouse, or I want a New England IPA and I want every beer to taste like this beer. And we were like, so wait, we're all trying to make the same beer now? This is the goal?
Yeah.
This is
And
right.
it was like, if you weren't making an IPA or a New England IPA that tasted specifically like what Treehouse was doing, then it was shit. It wasn't
Right.
good.
Right.
And it was like, where did this? Now I don't know if I like this culture.
I have a friend. I call him Captain America because he is die-hard Treehouse. Like, he will only drink Treehouse, and it infuriates me. Not that Treehouse is doing anything wrong. Their beer is solid beer, obviously. Otherwise, they wouldn't be where they are. But it drove me crazy that he wouldn't try anything local. That in his mind, nothing can touch Treehouse. And I'm like, you're really missing out on a lot of great Connecticut beer because you're just...
Hold on, wait. That was
An amazing pour.
God
Yeah.
damn, dude.
It's like you...
Holy shit, that was...
Zoom in on that.
I don't... Yeah.
actually a little-
Timestamp that
little
one.
bigger than
Holy
other.
shit. God damn, that was... I was just in awe. I didn't even hear what nothing she was saying. Oh, fuck. Look at that pour.
Thanks for listening.
I'm sorry.
I'll see myself out now.
That's why I had to stop. It's just like, no,
I was side-eyeing.
holy
it.
shit.
Is that shit gonna go over?
Yeah, I was like, hold on, wait, is that about to? It's like, oh, damn.
He's a fucking professional, jackass.
Honestly,
You ever see the
my first
episode
time
of The
having
Office where they're
Really
waiting
good.
for the label?
I like this.
To hit
No.
exactly in the corner of the screen.
Oh, yeah.
That was that.
That's that. Yeah.
no, go ahead. What were you saying?
Fuck off, Brenda.
All right, I have a non-beer question because I don't get to ask this question a lot in a podcast. What was your take on Kendrick and Drake?
That boy Kendrick's a problem.
Motherfucking problem,
Don't
man.
say, cut that. We don't want him getting killed.
No, he is a
Nah, listen, I'm a fan of both artists. I don't love sing-songy Drake. I like headlines Drake. I like when Drake is actually in battle mode. I like that lyrical part of Drake versus when he's trying to like do accents and sing. And not that he didn't do that well. The dude makes hits, undeniably, but Kendrick is a different kind of lyricist.
Yeah, no.
And the it's one thing to like go back and forth in a battle. It's another thing to like make a summer banger that's basically calling your opponent a pedophile.
Oh my god.
And
Yeah.
not only is it a summer banger, but you use that summer banger to like unite gang leaders.
Yeah.
in
the Juneteenth pop-up concert
the pop-up
was
crazy.
oh my god.
The whole thing's crazy.
My
So
son and I were both watching that like, yo, that is
bananas.
bananas.
And you can't deny like Drake's disses were good. They weren't like, it's not like he didn't come out swinging, but
You know what's funny? Because like
It's a whole different kind of.
it aged poorly. You know what? Family Matters aged poorly, and the messed up part is the best part of Family Matters is the second part where he's not even talking about Kendrick. He's dissing everybody else. That's my favorite part of the whole thing. Is when he's going at everybody else. It's just like, yo, that's the Drake I like right there.
yeah.
But you're not even rapping against Kendrick right now.
Yeah, it's a different thing, and obviously two really different kind of lyricists and performers in general. Like just the kind of music that they both put out is like.
I mean, I've never listened to a diss track, and my son gets on me all the time because he's like, "You can still listen to that." Is Meet the Grams?
Yeah.
Because it's like the second he says, "Dear Adonis," it's like, no, you just didn't. Dear Adonis, what? What? Listen to this when you're 18. What?
Yeah.
It's like even with the whole like the daughter that's maybe not, and take that verse out and still just him talking to Adonis, his parents, and him. That is like, how do you come back from that?
Yeah. Yeah,
He
man.
put you through a whole therapy session.
Yeah, and like set the whole culture on edge. Like,
Yeah.
it's a banger. It's just a summer banger. It's playing in everybody like mixes. The shit is
Yeah.
trending on TikTok. It's
Oh,
just
yeah,
like,
yeah.
It's
Yeah.
beyond just a diss track. It's like,
Right.
Yeah.
he's gonna win a Grammy for that shit.
Right.
Yeah, no, you know what? I think he is. I
It's
truly
crazy.
do think he'll win another Grammy for that.
It's crazy. But
Do you think Jake is the new Ja Rule?
nah, Drake ain't going anywhere.
I don't.
'Cause
Dude.
Drake's got a fan base that was different and the longevity that was different. Ja Rule was like kind of new still, around that time.
I don't know, man.
I don't see him going anywhere.
I don't know.
I think everybody like I can't even hear Drake without what.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
exactly.
It's like-
Exactly.
I think even songs I like, I'm like,
Bro,
God damn.
I've listened to Drake songs like after, and it's like, yeah, no, these don't hit. It's like, that's what happened with me with Ja Rule. I was a big Ja Rule fan before 50. Big Ja Rule fan. And then after the whole 50, it was like, yo, dude, I can't even listen to Ja Rule no more.
I think the difference too, though, Ja Rule like stopped putting out bangers after that too. He also took a giant.
No, wait. Did he stop putting out bangers, or did we stop thinking those songs were bangers?
Nah, I think like when's the last thing you heard about Drake about Ja Rule?
Ja Rule?
Outside of Fire fucking Festival.
50 buying his concert tickets.
You know what I'm saying? It's just like I think after that he didn't
Yeah.
put out. I think Drake is a different level of talent than Ja Rule. Period.
I give you that. Yeah,
I think he's got a fan base that is like way bigger.
But I mean,
and broader.
it's one of those things where it's like, and then the songs that he put out after did not help, because the Sexy Red song that he featured on, in all honesty, the first time I listened to that, I thought it was like Sexy Red part was trash, and then Drake's part was just mediocre, and then I listened to it again and realized, no, Drake messed up that song. He truly messed up that song. It's like toxic female song. She's all off key, and it's a whole thing. Once you listen to it and process the lyrics, it's like, oh, okay, I understand what you're going for now. And then Drake comes in talking about, yeah, I buy BBLs for all my chicks. It's like, dude, you just messed up the entire track of what she was going for. And then I didn't even listen to the Mia Cabela stuff. It was just like, yeah, I'm not listening to her. She's not getting any of my streams.
Yeah, I'd be surprised if he like fell off. I think everybody's gonna have to. It's gonna be a little while before people aren't like looking at him a little different.
Yeah.
And listening to his music a little different, and not to like. There was so many things that Kendrick dropped that were like.
I mean, it makes Childish Gambino come back out on him.
Yeah. I think he's a different kind of pop based artist. He transcends a couple of different genres that Kendrick doesn't necessarily be in. But Kendrick has always been, doing his own individual thing.
Yeah.
So I think he's never tried to be Drake. But yeah, people say it's good for hip hop. That the beef is good for hip hop. It's good for like the competition and the things.
Yeah.
The whole thing was like pretty petty in the grand scheme of like how it all started, which is kind of how all rap beef starts.
I was just
going to
say, if you think back to like 80s rap and like I mean you have to get past like the early onset, but like when you start thinking about
think about like the L Cool J Cannabis beef. That was a little petty.
Yeah, it's all petty. It's all petty.
It's
all petty. But it's fun. It's definitely fun. I love the whole. Thing.
It's great when you're not the target.
Oh my god.
Oh yeah.
Like if you,
I was loving every.
J. Cole is,
but
that one.
Yeah, I'm sure he is. I mean, I can't lie, I thought less of J. Cole after watching the apology, because you know what? If you want to bow out, that's cool. Don't do it at your concert. Come on, man. And then it was just like, oh no, you're smart. Nope, you're smart.
I'll say, a lot of people said that too. I will say, I was all for the bow out because, to me, like the fan I am of J. Cole, I was like, fuck is J. Cole doing in this thing? He don't mean any of this. He doesn't, I felt like he kind of was like, I think even he felt like he's like, I don't mean any of this shit. This isn't what I mean. He's like an evolved level of rap and hip hop. Like,
my only thing about that is that the whole Might Delete Later was like, that whole rollout was, I'm one of the best rappers, ain't none of y'all can test me. And then when someone threw a shot at you, it was like, nah, I'm good. That was my only thing about it, because it's like, I'm listening to all this stuff for the Might Delete Later, and it's like, okay, Kendrick threw shots, let's go. And then it's like, nah, we good. And oh man.
Yeah, I hear you.
I'm a little insulted you don't feel like you can have these conversations with me.
Did you listen to Might Delete Later?
I mean,
See?
no.
See?
But the point is,
I'm not talking about Cupcake. I know I'm not talking about Cupcake with you.
man,
I know that.
that is.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, hold on. My other new favorite song is. Hold on.
Okay.
They're gonna kill me.
Where are you hearing these?
Just sometimes
Casey?
random. No.
Casey?
Sometimes no.
I don't think Casey listened to Cupcake. Does Casey listen to Cupcake?
No.
Yeah, she doesn't
That
seem the
one
Cupcake.
I found on
yeah,
my
she
own.
doesn't seem the Cupcake type.
That one I found on my own. Get it sexy.
Oh,
Get it
that's
sexy.
that's the sexy
Jasmine,
red.
yeah.
That's the sexy red.
There's some
Now,
naughty
I mean,
lyrics out there. I
If
dig that. I support them.
If I wanted to like talk about some Glorilla, I would come to you.
All right. Thank you.
I don't have a damn clue what you're talking
I just don't want to be left out because, I mean, when it comes to like dirty lyrics, I'm definitely the one that's going to find them.
No.
Okay.
You would like Glorilla.
Is that
you
what
gotta listen
you
to
search
Glorilla.
for that?
Do I search for
Like,
that? Sometimes.
give me dirty lyrics.
Hold on. No.
No, if you ever went through my playlist, man, there
You know
is
what?
so
Adina Howard.
many different things
I
in there.
guarantee was her thing back in the 90s. Adina Howard. Freak in the morning, freak in the evening.
it's a banger.
It was a banger.
like rock or alternative. There was a good portion of late 80s, 92, 93 that I was straight hip hop. There was a club, Checkers, in Manchester,
Wow.
which I know I just dated myself. Yes, I'm
Wow.
that many years old. I'm Checkers
Wow.
years old. Man, that was the place. The dances that were coming out of the New York City, that
Yeah.
it's going to be stupid to say because you
Well,
guys
I mean-
are going to laugh at
I
me,
mean,
but
that's before
the
that-
electric
that's
slide, any of that shit that was coming out of any of the cities was going to Checkers first.
I know what that one is.
I mean, that was
The electric slide, because
Yeah.
it's
It's
the
only
most
for-
ridiculous thing now. But all
Now.
different dances,
forever.
always.
Yeah.
Electric slide is
No.
synonymous. That is legendary,
Yeah.
baby.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, good. Because I'll still bust it out if the right song comes
Oh
on.
yeah, we do
Yeah.
fucking electric slide every night we can at Cedar Park. What you mean, man?
Actually, yeah, that's
Don't let
facts.
that song
Yeah,
play.
that's facts.
And then there was a lot of, like Salt and Pepper.
Yeah. Yeah.
But-
Ooh, baby. Ooh, baby.
I always had a thing for Left
And
Eye.
Vogue.
Left Eye?
Yeah. I know she wasn't in song.
I was gonna
I
say
was
you
gonna
know.
say-
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
That's the wrong
yeah,
thing.
that's 90s, but it,
Yeah.
I mean, I would
She
have a
was cute.
thing for Left Eye too, but I would just be too afraid she's about to burn my house down.
You just
song.
had to be nice. You just
Yo.
had to be nice. Treat her nice.
You look like you needed a new one.
The interview was just so. It was like, nah, I just wanted to burn his clothes, and then the fire just got bigger than I thought it was
Yeah.
going.
Things got out of control.
Yeah.
Trying to teach a motherfucker a lesson.
Right. Shit happens. Really.
Oh man.
Was she plane crash?
No.
Car
She
accident?
car accident
Car
in
accident.
Costa Rica.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Left.
But-
Aaliyah was the
Aaliyah was-
plane crash.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Do you want another guilty confession?
Go ahead.
I didn't have one Two Live Crew cassette. I had two.
Oh yeah, you need to.
I had the second album. And I know they had more, but it was like, it was ridiculous that I was jamming out to Two Live Crew. They were my favorite. And again, it was because of those naughty lyrics.
Two Live Crew was. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love Two Live Crew.
Yeah, they went through the thesaurus of naughty words and just
put it in there.
It was. I mean,
What else
oh
can
my
we
God.
use for this?
The protests at a Two Live Crew concert were so
Which just
funny.
made me love them more.
It was so funny.
Anything that was not supposed to
Yeah.
be, like, not mainstream, let me have it. Let me add it.
But it's funny because you know what? It was all good when they went in the hood. It was all good.
No surprise.
Yeah.
No surprise.
No protests.
No protests. No protests.
No Karens.
As soon as the little white teenagers was talking about some doodoo brown.
That's a problem.
Every Saturday morning, my mother would wake me up to clean. I would immediately put on Two Live Crew, lick my ass up and down, lick it till your tongue turn doo-doo brown. Lisa Marie, shut that shit off! You mean shut that doo-doo off? That was my go-to. She found it repulsive, and I would put it full on blast.
It was wild. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
to any parent at that time, you're like, what the?
Put her in the book.
But
I'll
every,
go
you
all
know,
day.
Repulsive can still be good.
Yeah. I mean, that's been a part of it since the
Yeah,
jump.
for
Yeah.
real. Yeah.
I let my brother borrow my cassette.
Your cassette.
And yes,
My 8-track.
Yeah.
I'm old. What do you want from me?
Man,
And
stacks of
Laser
cassettes.
disc.
You never had the cassette organizer?
he found it moving. I had forgotten all about it. He found it moving. That cassette now still sits on my hutch in the dining room, so I will
Oh, no
never
kidding.
forget that is mine. That was
Yeah.
that was a huge part of Lisa's life and who she is today.
Yeah.
You're welcome, everyone.
Do you
The
even
Two
have
Live Crew?
anything to play that on?
Yes, I do.
I do as well.
I kept my stereo system.
I still have my parents'
Uh-huh.
VCR.
That I do not have.
I do not
It,
have
it's
a VCR.
it's honestly it's
What
like
you gonna do with that?
750
Yeah, for
pounds.
Yeah, I believe that.
And when you hit eject, that top comes up like it's gonna kill somebody.
Yeah.
Like click, boom.
Actually, you know what's funny?
And it gave you a wired remote, which was basically play and pause,
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
and it was.
The wired remote.
Did you have the VCR rewinder? Did you
Oh,
have
I
that
had one of
separate
those.
joint?
Yeah, I had one of
Oh.
those.
When
Yeah.
you got the when you got the rewinder on the side.
Yeah.
That's
no,
Man, you must have been rich. I didn't
No.
have that shit.
Yeah, we moved the verdict.
no, yeah, we had
moved
had
on
that.
up.
Yeah, that because we would go to the. We had
I was
to,
just talking about the Jeffersons today.
we had to make sure that all those tapes were rewound. We got to return them back to Hollywood Video that was on Prospect Ave. You know.
Damn.
Blockbuster, baby.
I kind of missed life back then. Like, it seemed like a much more simple time.
Because there was no internet.
We seemed happier then.
There was no internet.
Yeah.
That's the only difference between now and then. There
Sometimes
was no
lack of
internet.
information is a good
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or to get your information from a somewhat reliable source.
Yeah.
That had to be reliable.
Denzel Washington said it the best.
Wow, that was a curse.
Yeah, you heard that?
Yeah.
It's no
Is it
longer
Denzel
about being
Washington?
right, it's about being first.
Very true.
Yeah.
Very true.
Love me some Denzel.
Oh, of
Nothing
course.
wrong with Denzel.
Legend.
Yeah, for real.
Get your fucking hands off of me.
I immediately go to training day.
Actually, you know what's funny? All I saw, because I didn't even see the trailer for the new Gladiator. That everyone's just saying it's like Training Day in Greek.
Yeah.
I'm here for that.
Yeah.
I'm here for that shit. Give me that.
I mean, talk about such a diverse actor. Because you think of him in, like, Philadelphia,
Oh yeah.
and then training day. Like,
Yeah.
what?
One of the things I love about Denzel is that he's always Denzel in every movie to me.
Right.
So like, yeah, it's different characters, but he's like the good Denzel and he's the gangster Denzel.
Yeah.
Actually, you know what's even weirder? Watching his son in a movie.
Yeah.
Because it's like,
What?
dude.
Yeah, they have the same kind of cadence in the way they
Same
talk and
exact
shit.
cadence.
It's weird.
It is
Who's
crazy.
his son?
I honestly forget his name, but he was in not Inception. What was the other one that was like that?
Yeah, that one was weird.
That was weird with the time. Oh, that was crazy.
Everything went in reverse.
Reverse, yeah, that was.
But he had a bunch. He was in Black Klansman.
Yeah, he was in
He
Black
was in
Klansman.
Ballers. He was like one of the main characters in Ballers. on
Ballers,
HBO,
yeah.
which is a great character. He was a great
The
character.
last movie he just did was the big sci-fi movie with the
AI
The
joint.
AI.
Yeah.
He was really good in that.
Yeah,
it was
he's-
crazy.
he's a great
really
actor.
good. He's. I wouldn't say he's on par with his father, but he's damn close.
He's good.
He's really
but
good.
I hear you. It's
His
weird
cake-
because
yeah,
like
his-
he kind of looks like him, but his cadence and the way they don't have the same voice, but the way that he delivers
It's the same
words
voice
sometimes,
pattern,
you're like,
and it's like, oh shit,
it's weird.
that's your daddy. That is your daddy.
That's your daddy.
Yeah. Come, I'm telling you right now, if you
Why would you say something like that in front of me?
Oh, Marquito.
Shut
yeah,
up.
it's crazy. Yeah, Denzel, he's the man.
Yeah, he is.
All right. I covered all of my questions.
You covered all your questions? You sure?
Yes, I did. I checked my list. Like Santa. I even did it twice.
Well, that's good. I got my question. Brando, you have any questions?
I got one about Cedar Park.
Holla.
Is Cedar Park like a big like pop up, and you take it down seasonally, or is it a?
Yeah, it's a seasonal beer garden.
Okay.
We don't plan to take it down per se, because the goal is for that to be a long-term
Correct.
thing. So we do
Okay.
it every year. So everything that's there, the plan is that it'll stay in place there. With the exception of the sunshades, we got to take. I don't think those will handle the snow in winter and whatnot. We'll take those down, but everything else, yeah, the plan is that it'll stay in place, and then next year we pop up May 1st.
What I didn't know, excuse me, I didn't know just because I'm not in New Haven usually a lot, especially on weekends, is I didn't know that they did that. They shut down that whole downtown area.
For a night market?
Yeah.
Yeah, they do it twice a summer. So they do it on Orange Street where it was the first time.
Yeah, yep.
In the spring, and then in the fall, they do it over on like 2 blocks away, down
Okay.
closer to the green. So they pick 2 different streets. I'm trying to get them to come back to Orange and do it there. 'Cause,
Yeah,
that was
obviously.
that was good. No, that was good for you guys. Yeah.
yeah, that was a great way to kind of have we called it a soft opening because we weren't really ready. We scrapped and got ready for that night, but then we closed after that and opened up 2 weeks later for
Yeah.
June 1st.
Yeah, because that definitely was not a soft opening. That was like open.
That was, yeah, man. We were
It was
at
nuts.
capacity. Our
Yeah.
capacity is 550, and we were at 503 that night.
Yeah,
Damn.
it was crazy.
Yeah,
It was
it was
crazy.
bananas, but it was beautiful. It was like, man, it's one of those things after working so goddamn hard, especially
Yeah.
the whole team.
Yeah.
There were some days out there because that lot, you picture that lot as was just for the last 15 years was a gravel lot with chain link fence, and prior to that it was a parking lot. So it's never really
Right.
been developed. And
Yeah.
people have been walking by this thing for the last 20 years, just being like this eyesore. And for us to have transformed that place, and really we've been working on the project for a year, but the physical part of it was in like the 45 days leading up to night market. So we spent probably 20 hours a weekend.
Wow.
Between and that's like the weekend, not to mention all the extra time it took to, like the AstroTurf, for instance, was
Oh yeah. That had to be a pain.
we were working on a scrappy budget. I had about $30,000 to open up CETA, and
Wow.
when we had in reality, my goal was to raise $100,000.
Yeah.
On top of that 30 to like not only open, get the things we need, but to also give us operating capital to be sustainable. And, we didn't, and you really don't know if this is going to work, right? It's the idea of like, yes, we're opening a pop-up beer garden, but it's also a business. We are
Yes.
standing up a new business, and whether or not it's going to work and be profitable. So built out the budget on like, here's what it's going to cost, here's what our operating costs are going to be, blah blah, and then like 30 days out, a lot of those costs went up by 20-30%. So there was and the last 45 days, that every day it was like another obstacle, another thing, like problem with the liquor permit, problem with this permit, problem with getting equipment, or whatever it's going to be. There's always something going on. So this project was like really a lesson in resilience. I think if a year ago, if I had known what the real costs were going to be and what all the real hurdles were going to be in the 11th hour, I don't know if I would have had the confidence to be like, yeah, let's do this shit anyway.
Yeah.
It was like,
Yeah.
but we were so
Yeah,
far
yeah.
down the rabbit hole, and
Yeah,
already
yeah,
there was
yeah.
no turning back one way
Yep.
or the other. So it was just the only solution was to find solutions and keep moving forward, and we did. It felt like the universe wanted this project because a lot of things like happened in such a great way at the right time, despite all the stress and bullshit that went into it. But for instance, the AstroTurf that's there is, we had in the original budget that we had enough money in the budget for a 30 by 30 section of AstroTurf, and the rest of it was going to be gravel.
Yeah.
And we were going to like hope people rock with that, and it was going to be cool. And then I found literally like 30 days out from when we opened, found a guy on Facebook Marketplace that was selling like reclaimed AstroTurfs. And the way it's advertised is just like, reclaimed AstroTurf, like $200 a roll. And blah, blah, blah. So for what our budget was for that 30 by 30, we were able to get enough for the whole lot, about 4,000 square feet.
Wow.
But it meant like we had to pick it up ourselves, we had to transport it, and we had to do it all ourselves. And we just when you show up there, it's like, it's so suspect. It's like, it's Facebook Marketplace, right? And you're like, okay, I want this AstroTurf. And then they're like, all right, text this lady, Jen, and here's the number, and tell her, like, this is what you want, and then she will give you a thing. So
wow.
So you text this lady, Jen, and she's like, okay, thanks. Now text Jim and send Jim this screenshot of this. And I text Jim, and Jim's like, okay, and then you set up an appointment with Jim. And then you go there to pick up the AstroTurf for the day. They give you the address like the morning of. I'm like, there's something mad illegal.
Yeah.
Like, does it change depending on the day?
I don't know. But
That was my
they
Uncle
wouldn't tell
Jimmy.
us where it was going to
That
be.
AstroTurf fell off the back of the truck.
And that AstroTurf was heavy as a motherfucker, right? So we bought like 9 rolls of it, loaded up in the back of we had one of our guys who you guys may or may not have met, Chef, who's one of our main security guys, is the one that picked it up for us that day, put it in the back of the truck, brought it to the park, and dropped it all off. So when we came in the next day to roll it, it was like these 9 rolls of AstroTurf that were just like cut. We don't know what's what.
Wow.
We'd never seen it, and we were expecting just AstroTurf. AstroTurf.
Right.
We roll out one, and we're like, yo, this is a fucking soccer field. Like this, and then we roll out the other one. We're like, this is just a different field. This is like a lacrosse field. So that was the thing. So we had to roll them all out, and they're heavy as fuck because they're all filled with infill still,
right?
That gravel stuff. So we had to roll them all out, and they're like 7 feet by 65 feet each strip.
Yeah.
So roll them all out, right, which covers almost the length of the park.
Yeah.
And then just to see what we had, just to see what the lines were and we had, and then we dragged them all into place to try and create some sort of
Fuck that.
some cohesiveness of
of
the
what you got.
patterns
Yeah.
were. Yeah.
exactly. So we had to just see what we had, and then so we literally moved them around in different places, and it was one of the most physically demanding things I've ever done, because there's no like comfortable way to drag AstroTurf. We had like 4 of us that day, I think, and it's still heavy. So it's like, and then when you drag a piece of it, it's 60 feet long. So you need a person like every 10 feet to try and pull it so it all pulls at the same time, It was the worst, bro. It was awful. And that was just the AstroTurf day. And then that gravel is like packed gravel, like packed gravel. So me and Gene went to Home Depot and rented an auger. At first we got like the one-man joint, because all those posts where the sunshades are, we had to do everything to code, especially because this is a project that's the city has eyes on. They're supporting. They put some donations and shit. But there's a lot of eyes on the project, so we had to make sure that when we got to time for permits and stuff, that there wasn't going to be anything that was out of code that was going to harm us. So we had to dig 2 feet down. And the first auger we got was like, put it down, and it just like stayed at the top. It didn't even think about going down. I mean, for like 5 minutes of like pushing on this auger, it went like half an inch, and we were like, this isn't gonna work. So we went back to Home Depot, got the 2-man auger, the bigger John, which the both of us, so it's like him at one end, me on the other end. It's got these 2 handles, and you pull it and you start it.
Sorry, I'm envisioning this in my head.
And it's awkward to start because it's got the throttle on the side.
On the handle.
Yeah. And then when you go down, and then you like trying to, you gotta go down, but you gotta pull it up at the same time.
Yeah.
And then if it like, it's gravel, so it would hit stuff sometimes where it would get stuck. So it would hit like a rock or some shit, and then jerk you and take out a knee. We were like, yo, I'm like, I can't go to NEBCO and claim workman's comp on this boat. It was a hard day. So after we actually dug, I think there's 12 of those posts that we had to dig. It took us like almost a whole day to do that. And at the end of like that day, it was probably like, we started that at like 8 or 9 in the mornings when we like started doing all the stuff. We finished up at like 4 or 5 when we finished the holes. But then we're like, we can't leave these holes. We have to mix the cement and post in the same way. And like set them all. So it was like that hour, Daryl and Oren showed up like the saviors to like help us mix the cement, because we were like after that we got a cement mixer, but we rented this cement mixer. We're like, that's gonna be great, and then found out that we didn't have the right extension cord and the plug didn't work for so we were like, we got this shit, we can't use it.
So you have to use like a wheelbarrow and
wheelbarrow.
Oh my God.
And hand mix.
hand do
that
it
for all
after
those-
you've just been wrestling an auger bowl.
And it's not like you went and got some quickcrete.
Yeah.
No, well, we had the quickcrete, but it was still like you still got to mix it.
Yeah.
It still sucks. So we did that, and so thankfully Orrin and Daryl showed up at the like right time to like add another layer. So they did a lot of the mixing and pouring at the same time. So while they're mixing, we got to set it and then stake it in so it stays
Right.
and dries and that. And we came back the next day and like. Now the posts are a little wobbly because we're like, shit, maybe we should use 6x6 or 5x5.
Oh,
instead of 4x4s. So, like, hope these hold. And then trying to make sure, and making sure that we spaced them enough for the sunshades to spread and be taut correctly.
Yeah.
And it was like none of us had hung sunshades before. We
Right.
hang 9 of them bitches. One day, it's raining. Tim Cabral, I don't know if you guys know, Tim Cabral owns Joya and Ordinary, 2 dope spots downtown New Haven. And he was just like a good dude and has been a friend of mine for a long time and showed up at the park with food.
No
and was
shit.
like, let's hang some
Yeah, that's
sunshades.
cool.
So he helped us a bunch of times. But it was like cold raining while we're getting these sunshades up. And we still have to do it because there's one more weekend until we're supposed to open. We all have day jobs. So it's like this is the whole weekend. It was just so like those like 5 weeks leading up to night market was, me and Gene with the support of everybody else and my wife and everything from like 8 in the morning, 9 in the morning to 10, 11 at night doing something at the park. And right up until we opening. The night before we opened, we were there till midnight the night before, sanding and staining. So all the benches, all the high tops that are there, all the benches, all that shit, we built all that shit.
Get the hell out of
The
here.
bar, we built that shit. The stage, we built that shit.
Oh my God.
It's just because we had no money. It was just like the only way to afford all this is to just build it ourselves. And we just built it. The stage is built in 4x4 sections, so it's 4, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 4x4 sections that make up the stage that we built individually and put them all together. Found that shit on YouTube.
It looked all legit.
It's legit.
It looked all legit.
It's well built.
I would have
I am
never
Jamaican,
thought,
so
yeah.
we claim Jamaican. It's in the bones. But it was just physical, demanding labor and time to get that thing open. And then there's still like all these little things, like we're open, but like then there's all these little things like setting up a POS system and hiring staff and building out payroll and putting everything in the system and then ordering inventory and what are we going to order? What are the cocktails going to be? What are, like all these other aspects outside of just building the space, but standing up a business. You know, it was kind of crazy. So it was definitely like I said, a testament in resilience and like finding solutions, just persevering and grinding through the shit. So on that first night at night market, when the place was popping, it was like my heart was full. You know, it was like not only is this shit like, and everybody there being like, "What the fuck is this? This is amazing! Like I want to be here." And you're like, "Yo, we did it! It mattered. We did it. It matters to people. If it's people are here, people are having a great time, people are gonna come back." And then it's like, at the end of that night, we're like, Jess and I we flew to Asheville the next morning. So the night of night market, we were up that night, up till late. We popped a couple bottles of champagne. We had a couple J's lit and like celebrated a little bit. And then Jess and I pulled an all-nighter and had to be at Bradley for 6 a.m. flight to Asheville the next morning, which was tired for that, but it was a great way to like escape for a minute and celebrate after like grinding it out for the last like 60 days. And she got invited down there as an influencer to do their craft beer week.
That was when they were doing the pink boots, right? Or was it just for the?
No, it was just for craft beer week.
Okay.
Asheville Craft Beer Week. And I've been talking to the director of their Brewers Alliance about doing a Change in the Air Fest down there.
No kidding.
And trying to kind of do the same kind of impact, them starting a scholarship. And we just, the owner of Bears Barbecue put us in contact. So we're having this conversation. So funny. We're having this conversation on a meeting talking about CETA down in Asheville. A week prior to that, Jess gets invited to Asheville. She was like, "Let's go to Asheville and do this beer week thing. They're gonna comp my flight. Excuse me. They're gonna comp my flight, and we'll go down there and do these activities and promote it. You know." And I was like, "Cool. That'd be a great way to escape, a little mini vacation thing." So as I'm having this meeting on the other side, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna actually, it'd be cool to have a beer with y'all because I'm gonna be down there in a couple of weeks. My wife got invited down for Craft Beer Week, and one of the ladies was like, wait, who's your wife? And I was like, it's Jess Robinson, but on Instagram she's Jess Beer Me. And she's like, I know you. I'm the one flying your wife out. I'm running that program. I was like, what? She's like, yeah, we'll fly you down too. Like, that'll be great. Perfect. So, very generous of them.
Hey, that
They
don't
flew us-
suck.
Yeah, for real. That don't suck. Yeah.
They flew us both down. So it was like a long ass night, but it was such a great to have like 4 days to just like
Yeah.
relax and
Yeah.
walk around Asheville. And obviously my brain is going a million things. What can we improve on? What do we got to do? What else is next? Yada, yada, yada. And then I'm also stressing about like, this thing needs to be profitable because we are operating on, we've gotten sponsorships, and I've hit the goals that we wanted in terms of getting sponsorships and grants and support, but even those goals were like lean. So we're still working with like such a lean operating capital.
Yeah.
So we got to like have successful weekends to just have enough money to keep going.
For the next
keep
weekend.
doing it. Yeah. So that's all the other things that stresses my brain on top of needing to improve the space. There's other things we want to keep doing. Like the plan was to build a covering for the stage and do these things, but if you've seen the amount of shit that I bought off Facebook Marketplace in that place, and it's
Helping people.
crazy.
Shout out, Tim.
Yeah, but yeah, we made it happen on a scrappy ass budget, and it's working so far. People are showing up. The experience has been great for people, and I'm super proud of our team and all of us just being willing to grind it out and do it. And now we're like dialing in our marketing, dialing in the execution and the experience, and evolving those things, and feeling like shit. We only got a couple months to really do this thing.
Yeah.
And then when we're like, we've only been open for a month, and people are like, oh, and I'm like, yo, we need to have 1 billion people here, even though we only open for a month.
Yeah.
But it's been the word of mouth. Everything's just been great. I couldn't have asked for much more outside of, I'll always want more people to be there.
Right.
We're figuring it out. So far, so good.
Wow, I can definitely tell you that we're all proud of you.
Yeah.
I haven't even been there yet, and I'm proud of you. Awesome
that.
job.
Appreciate that.
I mean,
I'm not gonna lie. I think you can do more. Hi, I'm the asshole. I'm the one that called you a philanthropist. Come on. No, I'm only kidding. I mean, I am super proud to be able to say I know you and Jess because, Jess
real.
is no innocent person in any of the work that you're doing. She's
man.
right there by your side. She's paving her own path
Picking
too.
each other up.
100%, 100%.
Like she is out there, doing beer conversations and doing these, like, I didn't even know she was invited to other ones, but, she has her own identity
100%,
and
yeah.
her own beliefs and causes that she's working for. So the fact that, I mean, like, when we talk about power couples,
Yeah.
oh yeah. No, you guys
Yeah.
are. You guys are the power couple of craft, especially in Connecticut.
Yeah.
We always, man, it's funny. We talk about that sometimes because people have said that. We try to like deflect that because we're like,
of course you do.
Yeah.
Take
I mean,
Because you're both so
that's
humble.
Yeah.
But now Jess is a beast, man. It's been so cool to watch her grow from a creative standpoint, from from an influencer and what like the term influencer means
Yeah.
to being someone who's like really a part of the industry in a positive way, in finding her own identity and what that means for her to be fulfilled through it.
Yeah.
And then watching her evolve and just being a dope content creator and photographer.
Yeah, for real.
Right.
William Sonoma. I mean,
Bro.
Yeah.
what the fuck?
Yeah. And I mean, we're so blessed to have her on the team for CETA. Just like the photography, like everything you see from a visual standpoint is her,
Yep.
And like a lot of the graphics themselves are either her or Maggie, but like, and that's all volunteer. That's all, like just doing it because she also cares about it. She'd be a part of the project if I wasn't the one spearheading it still,
Yeah.
And
But
it's-
also, that's your wife. I mean,
yeah, man.
how lucky are you?
That's my
Kinda
birthday.
cool.
Very lucky. Very, very lucky. Very blessed.
Yeah.
I don't believe in luck, but I do believe in blessings. And yeah, man, we're blessed to have each other. And she's, having someone by her side. Because when we talk about, the time that it takes to do that, she may not necessarily be hand mixing cement, but she's the one that doesn't get my time, right?
Yeah.
She's the one
Yeah.
that's like making us lunch, or
Right.
she's the one that's also has ideas about how to improve events or what we need for marketing and stuff. So
Well, I can totally see
everybody
her on
playing
the
the role.
backside of things, like making phone calls and, like you said, making lunch. Like, she's not someone to be still.
No. She's a valuable member of the team, and helps me. Like they're nice where I don't fucking sleep, And I mean, you think about there's so much weight on it sometimes that it feels for me that it's like this has to work, or what the fuck are we doing it for? That's
Right.
like
Yeah,
a big part of it. So it's not just like, well, if it doesn't work, fuck it. Like in my brain, I'm like, no, man. There's
That's
so
not an
many.
option.
There's so many people that have invested time and money. Like when we think about like, all right, this project is costing $100,000. Like people have invested. I don't have $100,000. So other people have put in $100,000 to make this thing right. So then we're like, well, then we have to make it work. It has to be correct, and not only correct from a financial standpoint, it also has to be correct from the culture standpoint, from like executing what we're trying to do. This needs to feel and be a black and brown space, and we need to be true to that mission. It's more important to do that than it is to sell beer in the space. So if it means we're selling more cocktails and beer is kind of an accent, then that's what it's got to be to make sure that we're providing this thing. And been very blessed and honored to have her, and just like we're besties, man, so we rock out and do the thing.
All right, so I'm going to ask a question that may hurt just a little bit.
Oh.
I know, I'm full of them tonight, right?
Yeah. Here we go.
So
brace yourself.
With the decline of sales of beer fests, does that concern you with change in the air, or no, because it's a completely different kind of beer fest?
Yes and no. I think there is a reality to beer fests are definitely on the dwindle. So that like traditional beer fest goer is not something we can rely on. Yeah. But it was never something we wanted to rely on, because that traditional beer fest goer is 99% white. And not that we don't want white folks at the fest, but we want everyone at the fest.
Right.
Yeah.
And if it's only white folks, well, then we didn't really do the mission that we wanted to do. We raised money, and that's dope, but that's only like a piece of this whole project, right? So it's about, that was, I think, a big important part of why doing CETA was so important, and doing it thoughtfully and correctly. One of the things when we met with economic development and trying to ask them for money, one of the questions were like, we get what you're trying to do. We get the need for, cultural equity in this kind of a way. But how are you going to prevent it from being, a Yale hangout? Beer garden is a beer garden.
Yeah.
Right.
And I was like, that's a great question, but it's got to be about in the partnerships that we create, who we partner with to activate the space, the kind of things that we do, the way that we decorate the space. And the idea is to be something, again, built around black and brown culture, welcoming and comfortable for black and brown folks, but not exclusive, right? It's just thoughtful and intentional. Yeah. But Gene, our GM for the project, has been like, he says it best. He's like, when you walk into Olive Garden, you're walking into an Italian restaurant that is a white space. And he's like, and I like pasta, and I like breadsticks, and when I walk in there, I know exactly what I'm getting and going to, and I don't feel necessarily like this isn't for me or unwelcome. Right. It is. Yeah. But I know that I'm walking into this space. So CETA is about creating a space that's like, when anyone walks in there, it's like, not that I'm not welcome, but I am walking into this space. Yeah. Like, right? We play hip hop and R&B and soul and funk, and we sell craft cocktails that are instinctively familiar and to black and brown demographic and culture. The activations and the events that we do are instinctively and intentionally built around black and brown activators and people that are also doing dope events that need space, that need access to space like this and prime real estate and being able to do those things. And that's not about being exclusive to anyone else. It's just about being thoughtful and intentional to what this is. And when you come into this space, this is what it's about. And so far, the broad general reality is that everyone feels comfortable in that and likes that. The first thing about CETA Fest is like, white and black folks that came were like, this is the dopest festival I've been to.
Hands down.
And it's fun. And
it wasn't
cool.
about the stupidity and drunkenness.
Right.
Like, you go to so many beer fests, and it's how fast can you get through the line and circle? How many times did you make it around the loop? And you don't feel that need at change in the air. Like last year was the first time I had gone, but it was about the dancing, it was about the music, it was about learning about, because you had so many different people there that you wouldn't have at every other beer fest.
It was all new again.
Copper Sons would not be at Yard Goats.
No, they would not.
And, I would have never met them otherwise. So even, having those opportunities, and even just the beer that you made with Lawson's was, you wouldn't get that someplace else, except Eli Whitney.
Yeah, true.
for the release.
But also like so.
Eli Cannon's you're talking about.
Eli Cannons,
Yeah.
Eli Whitney. Oh, Jesus. Too much Hamden in me already.
So I was when the first year we went, you and I went, and it was like, oh, I have to bring my wife to this next year because she's always had that issue of not being comfortable in breweries because she's just not used to being the only black person in the room.
Yeah.
And the next year when I brought her, she was like, okay, now I understand why you do what you do.
Yeah.
This isn't just about drinking beer. It is a whole vibe. It's fun. Yes, everyone's drinking beer, but everyone's having a conversation. You're talking to strangers. You have no clue who this person is, where they're from. All you know
And it
is,
doesn't matter.
Yeah, and it doesn't matter. You just can't. You're in the same place because y'all both wanted to try this out, and you're just having fun.
Right.
Dancing, music, and then that was literally the gateway of her just, oh, let's go hang out again. Let's go here, and I was able to actually get her comfortable in spaces that she wasn't comfortable in before. It was a lovely gateway.
That's dope. I appreciate you sharing that because that's exactly the kind of thing we're trying to do. And the festival is more than a beer festival, like we've been saying. It's a cultural fest. It's a people fest, and beer is a part of this bigger thing. So a long-winded way of answering your question is like yes and no, because from the beer fest side of it, beer is on the decline in the grand scheme of total sales.
Yeah.
Numbers are saying that people are shifting back towards like brands they know and love and trust per se, and there's obviously a lot of disruptors like RTDs, like ready to drink cocktails and non-alc. Athletic Brewing is the 13th largest brewery in the country right now.
They are killing it.
It's crazy. They're just looking at grocery sale data the other day. They're number 4 in the state in total craft beer sales in grocery.
I still
it's a real
remember
disruptor.
when their stout tastes like an ashtray.
But
they turned it around.
No.
So I remember when we first had it was small state great beer. No one was at their booth.
Yeah.
We went like, hey, no,
Yeah.
non-alcoholic beer. We gotta try it. It's beer, so let's see what.
Had to be better than O'Doul's.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like let's
to
try
be.
it, and it was like.
Had to be.
One of the beers, I think it was the IPA they had, was
Run
actually
Wild.
good. Yeah, but the stout was like, oh God.
And now it's like,
But now it's like, yeah,
Oh my.
they have work, and their niche, and not their niche, but their marketing on how they marketed their beer was just genius, because you're the first one in this space of everyone wants to kind of be healthy. Everyone knows beer is not the way to be healthy.
right.
But yet you're able to have, marketed your product as something that you can still have a beer and it be healthy,
You can exercise. You
Yeah,
can be on a boat. You can-
exactly.
They own that category. Owned it.
Right.
Oh yeah, and I mean it's phenomenal marketing, and I mean they do have the luxury of being able to just sell their stuff everywhere because it's technically food.
Yeah. I mean, luxury and foresight.
Yeah.
Right.
Those are-
Yeah.
You don't get that luxury without building something that people actually want.
Right.
So shout out to them for that. But I think we will still have a great festival because of it is more than the beer. And we've been including,
Yes.
like we've talked about, it's an African American brewer scholarship, but we're really trying to extend it to be like, let's diversify beverage. So if you notice last year at the
Yeah.
festival, we had things that were not beer.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I noticed.
Yeah.
Ginger beer and things. And we'll do that this year.
The
We're gonna-
ginger beer was good.
Dope.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
ginger beer was
2
phenomenal.
of our cocktails at Cedar Park are made with that ginger beer. It's
Oh, no kidding.
bomb, yeah. The Uncle Ruckus and the Park Punch.
Nope.
Yeah.
All right, I gotta go just to get the Uncle Ruckus.
Come on down. But so this year we're gonna mix in wine. There's gonna be more than just beer at the
Yeah.
festival, and so I feel like, and especially doing it downtown now that we've had a summer to build up CETA and at the actual park and be there. I think it's gonna be. People are going to understand a little bit more on like why this could be a dope thing to go to.
Nice.
Yeah.
Outside of just being the beer festival that we've always done. So yeah, long story short, long story long.
Oh, perfect.
Yes and no. Yes and yes.
Perfect, because, I liked all the the content in between that it wasn't just a simple yes or no.
I'm excited about the fest already.
I mean, it is our favorite festival.
It is.
Because it's different. there is no beer fest that's like Changing Air, except for probably Barrel and Soul. But
Barrel and Flow, yeah.
I mean Barrel and Flow, yeah. But I'm not driving 5 hours.
It's a tough ask.
Yeah, I'm not driving 5 hours to go to a brew fest to drive back 5 hours.
I'm not
say that
driving
now.
back 5 hours.
Right. I don't mind driving there.
I will
It's a
say
ride
that is,
home.
that is a dope festival. It is worth the
Yeah.
trip.
I do want to go, and it's like one of those things where it's like I gotta plan that out. There's Airbnb involved,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that's not a one day go down there and try everything and drive back. No.
There's Ubers involved.
yeah,
There's
Yeah, there's plane tickets involved.
no. I'll drive.
No. It's not that far of a drive.
I like to drive.
5
I like to
hours
sing,
isn't too
even though
bad.
we've
Nah, I'll
noticed
text you
I'm
when I
not
get
good at.
Oh man, you guys can kiss my ass.
Come on, 5 hours? 5
No.
hours isn't that bad of a drive.
I'm driving by myself.
Why wouldn't you want to drive with me? Hear me sing the whole way.
Definitely.
I'm
not.
driving by myself.
Yeah.
My book, my Audible, and just go.
Yeah, that's why you just play the songs you don't know.
Songs I don't know.
Yeah.
No, it's gonna be Shine Down, Simple Man, 7 times in a row, while she gets stuck trying to throw up.
Some things you'll never outlive.
One
It's going to be the pop out. Wah. 6 hours straight.
Fuzzy.
No. It's mouth wide open. Mouth wide open.
I hear what I want to hear.
Okay.
Heard what I want to hear.
So, did you guys come with any? No. Hold on. After Cupcake, that was a difficult transition after listening to Cupcake. Did you guys prepare any difficult questions?
Difficult. Why would we have
Anything
a difficult
insightful?
question?
Trying to set me up.
No. I just.
Insightful questions.
I feel like.
Wasn't I think my Kendrick Lamar question was
That was. That got some mileage.
That did.
did.
Yeah.
Like this double fuzzy. I love the smell of double.
I love the duck. Just one of my favorites.
It's got that light brashness where you're like, it's 8.2.
You know what? I don't want to say this, but it just reminds me of old school IPAs. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of our IPAs are West Coast leaning for
Yeah.
sure. We don't really dabble in the New England IPA thing very strong in it at all. You know, there's some haze in our beers, but that's like more like chill hop haze, not like New England IPA haze.
Yeah.
But yeah, we definitely West Coast leaning.
G-Bot, baby.
Yeah.
When you took the job with NEBCO, what was your favorite beer they made?
SEAG. Yeah, for
What's
sure.
your favorite beer today?
SEAG is probably my favorite, but I drink NEBCO lager more than anything else. Yeah. I've definitely stepped back from IPAs as a whole, just more
Yeah.
sessional drinking. I honestly drink probably more bourbon than anything alcoholic these
yeah,
days. You know,
yeah.
it's just
Well, you did have we had a kegerator with knuckle lager.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a big lager fan of good lagers.
lagers,
I think NEBCO
right.
lager. Not biased. I may be a little biased because
Right.
NEBCO's the home team, but I think it is one of the best lagers available. Period,
Agreed.
right
It
now.
is very
Yeah.
good.
It's delicious. So I honestly drink that more than anything as far as beer goes.
If you had to pick one beer to take off the board forever, what would
Take
it be?
off the board?
Yes, I can.
What do you mean?
All
Off
right.
of like NEBCO's portfolio?
Yeah.
What do I not want to ever
I
sell?
don't know, man. We actually we make so many beers, but there's definitely some beers that like I don't really drink, like peach fuzz. People love that. It's not really my jam.
I had to
but
wait in line for peach fuzz for Ange.
We do that once a year.
What?
I had to wait in line for peach fuzz for Ange.
I don't think I've had peach fuzz. Yeah, I don't think I've had that.
Yeah, but if I'm gonna take something off the board, it's gonna be something we just don't sell that much of. But all of the beers, whether I love the style or not, like our brew team is fucking firepower. Those
Yes.
guys
Yeah.
are meticulous and not just like very thoughtful about every little thing from water quality to ingredient timing. It's just it's one thing to just be a brewer and care about brewing, but everybody on that side of the system like takes ownership in every little thing that they do. So the liquid is it's the core reason that I came to NEBCO over other places was the quality of liquid, the attention to quality of liquid, and caring about that first more than anything else, more than the marketing, more than sales and distribution. Is about like, is this the liquid we want? And then, you know, obviously having a relationship with a bunch of the people there. I've known Rob for years. You know, when Marty was there, I've known Marty for years. I was always been a fan of Greg, our director of brewery ops. He was a award-winning home brewer prior to NEBCO, and I loved his home brews before he was a brewer at NEBCO. So there's just like a level of trust. I'm like, no, these guys are about it in all the real ways. I gotta say, when NEBCO's got me excited about beer again. You know, outside when I was at Stony, when I left Blue Point, went to Stony, and it was exciting in the front. And then obviously there's a lot of turmoil in the back. You guys know when I was let go from there, and that whole scenario happened. It was like I was not sure if I wanted to stay in beer. I was like, maybe this industry's not for me anymore. You got all these. There's a huge part of this culture that's so loud and like just talk shit about every brewery, with most of these people not knowing anything about beer, really caring about beer.
Yeah.
And then you've got, you know, the people waiting in line for shit, and then you've got like all those aspects. I'm like, maybe this isn't for me anymore. Maybe this side of the industry isn't for me. And then when I was at NEBCO, especially like meeting with those guys to talk about potentially coming on board and what that would mean, and after I actually came on board, I was like, oh shit, no. I just didn't, you know, I'm just wasn't
You was just in the wrong spot. Yeah. You was just in the wrong spot.
Nah, I love this shit. This place is dope. And it like gave me like but it had like the scrappy, fun, like bootstrap energy and feel of my Blue Point days. Like when I started at Blue Point, I was the first. I launched Connecticut and all the New England states. So we had two other sales reps, one for New York, one for Long Island. I was the third sales guy at a company that had like 12 employees total. So it was like really like the beginning stages. And when I left there, we were in 17 states and we're a 40,000 barrel brewery. And it was like going back to NEBCO gave me that feeling of like what it was like in those scrappy, fun, charismatic early days of brewery. You know, and that's hard to get at any brewery, I think, now, because there's just so many other variables that affect that, from the time in the industry too. The time was very dope at that time, because everybody was like very curious and interested in asking questions, and you were trying shit, and it was I came from AB, which was like a very like brand loyal culture, like you drink our shit or get fired, right? And you go to craft beer, and it was like, nah, we drink what's good. We drink it. You know, my first day riding around with my boss, the owner of Blue Point, Pete Cotter at the time, and I remember I was so excited. We went to Ginger Man in Norwalk. I got toasted lager on tap there, and I'm like, we're gonna go around. Let's drink some toasted lager at this place. And he's like, nah, man, this is great. I know toasted lager. Let's try this other shit. Let's try this other beer. You know, let's try this other stuff. We know what our shit tastes like. Let's try this other stuff. And I was like, what? You don't want to drink? You know, it was like such a shock for me. But it was like one of the things that I really loved the most, because it wasn't him trying to do market research. It was just, this guy was a fucking fan of beer. And wanted to drink, and he drinks his beer all the time, and he wanted to try some other shit that was good. And that was exciting. That was cool. That felt like a camaraderie in an industry. And everybody I met, for the most part, that worked at a brewery was the same way. This like unspoken brewery love, that like you showed up at a brewery, you brought a 6-pack or a case of beer for that brewery.
I feel like that fell off even now. Like that camaraderie of when you go to someone else's house, you bring a gift.
Yeah, I think it's just the world has just evolved. I don't think there's any necessarily like malice or like.
I don't think it's malice. I just
but it's
feel
definitely
like
just like.
But there used to be. I feel like that was part of the camaraderie of it all, though.
Yeah.
Like I always
certain initial courtesies.
Yeah.
I always refer to it as a brotherhood. Breweries are a brotherhood.
Yeah.
And so when you go to someone else's house, like that's how I feel that it was, and now I feel like everyone's just so scrapped because there's not enough people drinking enough beer. So
it is. It's a different time.
Yo, get out there.
It's a different time, especially because, you know, like you said, there's less people drinking it in general. There's so many breweries,
right?
Yeah.
And then there's a reality, like, you know, not everybody has the beer to spare per se. And then when you get to that brewery, there's kind of like there's so many breweries. Like we have like breweries, you know, you have 10 different breweries stocking up beer in the back, and it's like, and then when you not all breweries are making great beer, as dope as cool as they may be as people.
Yeah.
Right. And it's like, no offense, but I just rather drink this. And, you know, so I think there's a little bit of that probably happened, and just like everybody is getting so focused on, you know, 15, 18 years ago when it was like, it was all of us against AB. It's the big guys.
Right.
Against the big guys. Like, let's all drink each other's beer. Let's all help each other up. And then it became like saturated, for lack of a better word, where there was just a lot of fucking breweries. Connecticut went from, when I started in this thing, to like 4 or 5 breweries to 140 breweries in the third smallest state in the country. That's a lot.
That's crazy.
A lot of breweries.
Yeah, it's a lot of breweries.
So it's just how many can you drink? How many is really sustainable?
Yeah.
How, and then gonna affect your own. And I think there's just a lot of moving parts in terms of the culture, and then who's waiting in line for what. So now you're seeing this fall off. If we said, not that the bubble has burst, but it's definitely deflating.
Changing shape.
Yeah.
And I think people are shifting back to breweries they know and love, because there was this energy of like, anybody can make beer. Let's all. You open a brewery, and you open a brewery, and you open a brewery, and they're not all. It's not all good just because it's local.
Yeah.
And that was one of the first lessons I got at GABF my first years ago, and I was like, all right, this is all. There's 1,000 beers here. I'm gonna go fucking try some shit, and 50% of them were trash. And it's just the reality of, it's easy to make beer. It's hard to make good beer.
Right. Yes.
Right.
And just everybody. There's a lot of people early on in my come up where everybody I felt like I met in the industry was like so passion driven. They weren't doing this for the money. Mm-hmm. But it is a business at the same time, right? And then there was a whole section of people that got into it, not just from a love standpoint, but because like, there's money to be made. There's mad people. Craft beer is popular right now. And then there's the aspect of people that are like, well, I was brewing in my basement, and that's how Tim Cook started.
My buddy told me I could.
Yeah. Like my aunt liked my homebrew, so
why not?
My aunt never lies.
right.
My aunt like my home. That is the quote of the day. My aunt like my home brew.
But no shade, some of the best breweries like Sierra Nevada started that way. Dogfish started that way. It's just that there was just so many, and there was just this voice in the culture that was so like annoying that it was like. I know for me personally, and I think there's probably a bunch of us in the industry that felt this way for a while, that they were like, this is kind of whack now. Like, what happened? And craft beer went from being this exciting, growing thing to being like, what are we doing? Is this cool still?
Well, and I think that started when we were throwing everything from the kitchen sink into beers.
Yeah.
It's like Johnny said. It's like when let's put chicken wings in a beer. No. It's not.
It got crazy.
There's a difference between like, Dogfish had this off-centered ale for off-centered people, this like unconventional, you can do kind of weird, exciting things with beer.
Yeah.
And then it got to like, wait, what the fuck?
Yeah.
It got like unrecognizable.
It really did. And, a lot of my friends were like, did you see this cereal beer that's coming out? Like, they were throwing every cereal from Fruity Pebbles and Fruited Cheerios and all this.
It's been done, had it.
And I'm like...
And my biggest beef is like, listen, like what you like, right?
Right.
Beer is supposed to be this thing that's objective, and our palates are all different, and we all like
it's an
different
art
things,
form.
right?
Yeah.
But there is this constant that there's still quality involved in what
Correct.
you do,
Correct.
right? We can all make fried chicken, but if you undercook your fried chicken and I make my shit right and it's got the seasoning is perfect.
I feel like he knew exactly where the fried chicken was going to go.
Wait a second.
So he used me exactly.
That
was
triggered
looking
a
at it.
memory.
Also, facts.
But like it's the reality, right?
Yeah.
Like, there's a level of quality that still has to come with whatever we're doing, whether we're throwing marshmallows and chicken wings in the mix. We still have to make quality. I think there was a lack of quality. That was my biggest beef. Is like a lot of this shit goes against what I learned good beer is by process and quality of good beer.
Yeah.
And not just because it's new and exciting and innovative. And it was good for the industry in a bunch of ways, because I think there was a level of pretentiousness that came off of beer. And even though
I don't
both
know
sides,
what. Yeah.
As I say that, there's a level of like, when I say pretentiousness, I mean there's like this, like the early times there was people that were very like, almost like from a sommelier standpoint, before there was a Cicerone, where people like, here's why this beer is good, and here's why, and here's the things, versus like, I'm a snob and I only drink Treehouse because that's what my boys drink. Like there's a difference between those scenarios. But it also, one of the things that Treehouse did really, really was like a real benefit to the industry was it got people into beer that weren't before. Like when you can have IPAs now, most people that didn't like IPAs didn't like the bitterness that came with an IPA, and now you can still get hop aroma and hop flavor and a balanced bitterness that was not offensive to someone just getting into craft beer. Then now all of a sudden you've like created opportunity and you've created gateway to get in. Blue Moon did that, Shock Top did that. All those things benefited craft beer, and there's this reality to once your palate has evolved, you can't really go backwards.
Right.
So once you know what good tastes like and what quality tastes like,
Yeah.
it's hard to then go back and drink something that is inferior and feel good about it.
Yeah.
You can't.
It true. Like,
That's a human nature thing,
Right.
You know, and that doesn't mean you need to be a level 2 Cicerone to be able to recognize that. There's a value in quality that's universal.
Right.
we
I
were.
would- go ahead.
No, I was gonna say we were having that conversation because we were like Brando and I were thinking about becoming BJCP. Not like heavy, but like doing the training and all that stuff. And Lisa's like, no, I want to enjoy my beer.
Yeah, that's fair. And there's different levels because they, those BJCP judges do enjoy their beer still, and they enjoy the quality that comes with that and being able to recognize that.
Yeah.
But I always we do a homebrewing competition every year, and I always like to judge in it because it's at least one time a year where I focus on sensory. And
Yes.
the thing that got me excited when I first started in the beer business, I took this job through Anheuser-Busch that nobody else at the distributor wanted, and it was focused on a bunch of innovative products that Anheuser-Busch was going to be coming out with in the next 3 to 5 years.
Yeah.
And they wanted every distributor to have one person focused on the new innovative things. And I was the youngest at the distributor at the time. Everyone else was like old school Bud guys. Nobody wanted to. They're like, I fucking sell Bud Light. I don't want to learn about this new craft beer shit.
Right.
So I took the job because I was honestly just because I was young and hungry, and it was an opportunity for me to advance in the distribution.
It was a way to grow in the industry.
Exactly.
Yeah.
When they sent me to the trainings, I was only 20 at the time, so it was an issue that they were giving me this role because Anheuser-Busch was like, you can't hire this kid that's not 21 yet. How is he going to be able to do the job? Bob Hollander, shout out to Bob Hollander, who's the VP of HDI back in the day that gave me my shot when I was a kid and was like, fuck you guys, hire this kid, let's see what he does. But the deal was basically like, if I can't make the cut and I can't do this job effectively without my age being an issue, then they'd have to let me go.
Right.
So, which was, a lot of pressure for a kid at the time. And I called my mom, and she gave me this like Jamaican ass pep talk that was like, "What? You can do anything you fucking want, bro. Put your mind to it." And I was just like,
Yeah.
So, went at this thing, but they sent me to like 15 different beer training classes that went from sensory marketing. It was about like introducing these new brands. Who are the demographic behind these brands? How do we talk to them? How do we speak about beer? What is beer? And then like all these sensory classes with different brewmasters at the time. This is after AB had gotten bought by InBev. So then they had like Leth and all these international breweries that had brewmasters that came and like literally went through Cicerone level training for us at the time. And I couldn't actually taste the beer. I wasn't allowed to sample the beer, but I had to pass they had exams at the end of every training that you still had to pass, and a lot of that was sensory.
Wow.
Yeah.
But that's what got me excited about beer, because for the first time I was engaging and thinking about beer very differently. Before it was just like, I got this cool job that I work at a beer company.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
But I didn't even drink really at that time. And as a kid, I grew up playing soccer. I was kind of a straight edge. I didn't smoke, didn't drink. So working at a brewery was like so weird. Working for a distributor was so weird to like all of my friends who were around me. Like, yo, you're not even the guy that drinks with us. But
I am that guy about money, though.
and it was this opportunity to like, so all of a sudden I'm like smelling stouts and being like, wow, that does smell like roasted chocolate. That does smell like coffee. It does have these smoky essence. And it connected and clicked with me in a different kind of way that I got excited about it. So then when now, fast forward, 15 years later, and everyone's like, it's not hazy enough, and it's fucking juicy, and I'm tasting like yeast burn.
Right.
Burn and all these things, and everybody's like, this is amazing. This is the fucking greatest thing I've ever had. I'm like, I don't know if this is for me anymore. Because all the things that made me excited and got me into this beer and into the industry as a whole felt like it was just like slipping away.
Yeah.
And no one else was really interested in that way.
I mean, like you said, though, your palate can, goes forward, but
doesn't go back.
It's hard to go back, man.
Wow, that's a
What would
problem.
you like to promote? So here we are.
Yeah.
I know you did a lot of the talking, but we overtook
that's
this last
why
like
he's
10,
here.
15 minutes. But what would you like to say to the people in this last 5 minutes?
Listen, man, drink NEBCO. Delicious
NEBCO.
beer. I think people are already doing that, which
Come
is
to
great.
Change in the Air.
So more or
Cedar
less
Park.
appreciate that. But yeah, Cedar Park. Come to Cedar Park on the corner of Orange and Chapel, 745 Chapel Street, downtown New Haven.
Yeah, we gotta go out there.
We're open
I've
Don't
Thursday to
interrupt,
Sunday.
man.
been.
Continue,
But yeah,
please.
come down. We're gonna have a bunch of different activations every week. We've got different activations from DJs, live music, And every week it's going to be different. Sometimes they're ticketed events, sometimes they're live, but either way, we got dope cocktails, great beers, a really, really dope staff, and a cool vibe and environment that I think anybody's going to like to hang out in. So,
Are there
pull up
socials
on us.
people can follow?
Cedar Park on Instagram, Cedar_Park, cedarpark.com. You can download our app. It's a thing. We got an app.
Oh, you got an app.
Ooh.
There was budget for an
Big
app?
time. It was we got a hookup from the company that did
Oh,
it. Yeah.
okay.
Nice.
Nah, there
Yeah.
wasn't a budget for
I
that.
was about to say.
Yeah, it's
You buy actual turf from Marketplace.
there's some perks to being a nonprofit.
I'm going to ask $1 million question for the 200 people watching. Are you, like, what kind of organization do you have? Like, are you a 501?
We are a 501c3.
So
Yeah.
if there's anyone out there that looks to donate, this would be a great opportunity for them to
Hell yeah.
donate.
Yeah, donate
So
to
if
the
you're
cause.
watching and you're looking to unload some money
Yes.
or merchandise or
Yeah.
gifts or whatever,
Donate.
donate.
Donate. We appreciate it. We got another $100,000 to raise before we fully establish this endowment fund. And every little bit helps, for real.
Yeah.
But even
Oh,
coming
yeah.
down and buying a beverage, that shit helps,
Helps.
too. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Appreciate you.
So you heard the man. Get out there.
Get out there, drink their beer. Cedar Park.
Drink
Do it.
their RTDs.
Cedar Fest.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're batch cocktails.
Batch cocktails.
Or batch
Roger,
cocktails.
not RTDs. Scratch that.
But we got 'em. We got great breweries. The breweries that we're pouring right now, we're rotating through some of them, but it's the breweries that have been. We couldn't have done this. We couldn't do the festival with all the breweries that pull up and support and actually pour at that thing. So especially and sponsor the festival, give us
Yeah.
money to be able. That festival is not cheap. So the breweries that have been supporting us, Lawson's, Bissell, Alvarium's been a supporter from the jump.
Yeah.
Great Falls, obviously Rhythm, and we've got a bunch of breweries. Allagash has been a huge supporter. But yeah, shout out to all these breweries. Gray Sale came in and sponsored and supported us this
Yeah,
year.
they did. Yeah.
Yeah, I
Nice.
think everybody trying to do the right thing and supporting a good cause.
We
It's
gotta
greatly
get a-
appreciated.
We gotta get a collab beer for the change in the air. We
Okay.
should do that.
I'm all right with that.
Okay.
We gotta get a collab beer.
Ain't
for
gonna
Change
tell
in
me
the Air.
no. No, I'm not gonna tell you.
And then
no.
we pour it.
Yeah. That might
Okay.
be. Maybe another Transcend collab.
I was just going to say that.
Okay.
Because I've been trying to get Transcend to get down there, but I think just last year it was like scheduling. Their son was in AAU. They couldn't do nothing in the summer. I don't think he's in AAU this year.
All right. Well, anyway.
But you'll hear promo soon in the next coming weeks about
Yeah.
Cedar Fest, but it will be in October this year.
All right,
And it will be a
cool.
little different than we've done in the past. It's going to be better.
Nice.
Better.
We'll
We're
allow
going to
that.
evolve it. We're going to evolve it.
All right. Well, the gauntlet has been thrown.
Right.
Yes.
Thanks. Appreciate you.
All right. Well, thank you for coming out
Absolutely.
and sharing
Thank you for making
all
the
of this
drive, man.
We
information with
appreciate
us.
this so much.
Yeah.
Nah, I appreciate y'all. Thank you. Thanks for the time. Thanks for
I can,
Hell
leave
yeah.
here, I can leave here knowing a little bit more about you than the 40 under 40. So thank you.
No
I
doubt.
can move on to 2024 and 2025 now.
No doubt. No
Yeah,
doubt.
we thank you very much for coming, and we literally appreciate everything you do. We really do.
Thank
And if
you.
there's anything we can do, like if you want to send us stuff to like push out socials wise,
Yeah, let us know.
Yeah, no doubt.
I mean, we share already.
we
but-
share anyway.
Yeah.
we
True.
yeah, we
Yeah.
already share. But yeah, if there's anything else you want us to, promote, whatever, you got us.
No doubt. Appreciate that.
All right.
Anytime,
Tell Jess I
anywhere.
said hi.
Yes, ma'am.
So make sure you check out everything NEBCO, Change in the Air, Cedar Park, all that good stuff. Make sure you go out to Cedar Park.
New Haven's happening.
Oh yeah,
Even's on the up.
yep. And as always,
Drink responsibly. Stay wobbly. Cedar Park, Cedar Fest. Check it out, baby.
deuces.
Stay fly, stay high.